Hey, Roaring. Jeg har en turf and en Tom's penis.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SEN Live. That's right. I'm Kristian Harloff. Nice to have you all here today on this. What the hell is it? It's Tuesday, right? It's also called trying to Zoom your kid into school day, which sucks. You have no idea how bad it sucks. So you think you have problems? Try Zooming in your kids to school. Welcome. What a day. What a day it is. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. As you know, if you saw the thumbnail, we got a big ass show today. Long time in the making. The great Kevin Smith will be joining us on the show around 11 o'clock today and talk to him about the Schmodown match coming up against Chris Jericho. I'm going to ask him on Masters of the Universe. You better bet your ass. Star Wars questions. What the hell's going on with Clerks and Mallrats and all that shit, man. I can't wait to talk to Kevin Smith. But I'm not doing it alone. My partner in crime, one of my favorite people in the world to interview people with, this lady, Roxy Striar. Oh, you're muted. You know why? I did that on purpose. No, you're not.
What? Did you make me look stupid already?
But not on the air. Just on the air, but just not on the air with him.
Listen, it's been a minute since we've done this, Kristian. Do we still have it?
I think we got it.
I think we got it.
Look at the rest of these animals. Look at this. You got you got Mr. Brett.
One of the best interviewers on the planet.
Take your shots. You got Ben Goddard over here.
Morning, everybody.
The one and only, the great RB3. It's going to be a great show. I'm pretty stoked for it. And as you can see, we're doing this today, video-wise, via StreamYards. There's not going to be a Schmobot on today. However, we are going to be doing streamlabs.com/Schmodown for questions before we get him in for the first hour. I can tell you the super chats is probably the best way to do it today. If you want some questions in and stuff that we can highlight, I'll be able to highlight them today as they come in. And like I said, if you have questions for Kevin and you super chat them in, what I will tell you is that I will try to get to them. I can't promise it today because I have so much. I don't know how long I got them for yet. I think I got them for half an hour. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope we get them for an hour, but I think we got them for half an hour. And if that's the case, then I don't know how many questions I'm going to get to. But Roxy, this is something we were talking about this Collider Live, getting him in, and then obviously it's always been the big get for Schmodown. So how excited are you for this interview?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a massive fan of his, and like you, Kristian, my path has crossed with his several times. But like any day in which you get to talk to Kevin Smith is such a beautiful, inspiring day because what he's done to the industry that we're in, just as a person, he's awesome too. So I'm excited about it, but also I'm excited to kick his ass in Schmodown. So like, there's inner conflict in me right now. I've got that the dual, the battling forces going on inside.
But it's a good way. It's a good way to establish that, right? Because you're going to goof around with him here today and talk to him and stuff, and that way when you are Roxy the character on when they compete on the 28th, he's not even like, wait, what? Anyway, we do have a lot of topics actually to cover. So Goddard's going to be here for a little bit to help us with the stories, and we got some good ones, and let's start going on some of these movie stories. Ben, what do you got?
I was pretty surprised when I woke up and I read this headline that Laurence Fishburne is not invited to The Matrix 4.
Weird.
When asked recently, he said, quote, "I have not been invited. Maybe that will make me write another play. I wish them well. I hope it's great. It's probably the role that I best remember for, which is great. It's not the only thing I'll be remembered for, which is better," end quote. So we've heard of Carrie-Anne Moss. We just saw these two guys do John Wick 3 together and possibly John Wick 4. So were you guys surprised as I was to read this?
Yes and no. So the reason I say that is that we don't know the story, right? Yeah. We don't know the story, and whether or not Morpheus fits into it. The first thing you say is, "Oh my God, they couldn't find a way to get Morpheus back into it." But if he doesn't fit into the story, he doesn't fit into the story, and that's not what they want to tell, and they want to bring in new people and new characters. It sucks. He's like kind of iconic with he's iconic with when it comes to the Matrix. And does it stink that he's not going to be there? Of course, but I'm also not going to just write it off because that's not the story that the Wachowskis want to tell here. So I don't know. How do you feel about it, Rox?
This is the thing. Do you guys wait for Matrix news until I come on the show? Like, is that how the universe works? Where every time the one person who hasn't seen this movie is on the show, this is what we talk about? Like, literally, this is maybe the 7th time. I don't know who Morpheus is. I don't know how many movies he makes yet. I don't know. I like Laurence Fishburne. If he was part of my franchise, I'd probably ask him back. I don't know. Take the blue pill and then do a backbend. That seems to be like how you get asked back into the movies.
Right. Well, that's true. Go ahead, RB3.
I was going to say, I mean, listen, Laurence Fishburne is one of my favorite actors, just period. I think outside of like the blockbuster stuff, even in his early career from like Apocalypse Now, he's always had, great ability acting wise. And I think it's really unfortunate. To me, he was my favorite part of the first Matrix, no doubt. I mean, you love Keanu, you love Neo, but it's like that master versus apprentice, and you need that master. But maybe it fits into the story where maybe the master's gone. Maybe this is a new chapter. Maybe this leads to something else. If Keanu's older now as Neo, then I'm guessing Morpheus has to be much older too. So maybe they're figuring maybe that's part of the story, or I don't know. But
here's what confuses me. And Roxy, you might want to earmuff this one. Are you planning on watching it? Yeah, you want to take this off.
I took out. Wave at me when you want me back.
Okay. So the reason why I took Roxy as a spoiler for people who haven't seen Matrix is that Trinity dies in the third one. You know what I mean? It's like they're bringing her back. She's back. So
yeah.
But the question is, how are they bringing her back? That's the thing with the Matrix. Is it the same one? Is it a different reboot? And is that the case? Like, what are they going to do with Morpheus? I don't know. So I don't know. Let me wait till Roxy to come back. Come on back, Roxy. Get back in here.
I just don't know how they're going to explain why he's. I don't. You could bring him in for a little bit and then show why he's. But like, do they have scenes showing him die? Do they have what's?
That was my question. Like, would you rather him not be there at all? Would you rather them kill him off? Like that's the thing. Like, if he doesn't fit into the story, like, I feel like that would be such a meaningful, like, if they insist on him not being in the story, I feel like that would be a really meaningful scene to see Neo's mentor die off in whatever war or no peacetime or however the third one ends.
Could this be a swerve? Could this not be real and he was asked back and this is not true?
It could be. I don't understand like why, but it could be. Yeah.
This comment sounds a little more pettyish than like the traditional like, let me hide the secret that I'm keeping.
You're right. It does. It does seem like, and ask me.
Yeah.
So, well, do you though?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Larry Fishburne seems like a pretty straightforward dude. So he does make everything better though. There's no doubt about it. Anything that he's in. I mean, I was super pumped when I saw him in the John Wick movies, and he's him and Keanu Reeves paired up again. That was pretty awesome to watch that. So, and it's funny because he's such a good actor. It took me a second to go, oh, wait a minute. It's Morpheus and Neo again. Like, because I saw John Wick and The King, that's what I saw when I was watching it. But either way, you never know. They're planning on doing more than just one, right? For the new Matrix.
I think so. Like, at least there's 2 planned. Obviously, finances come into play, but there's supposedly 2 planned out here. So I don't know. I do find it. I realize there's probably a story behind it and probably a reason, but it will be weird to see the Matrix without Morpheus, because I agree with RB3. He was the best part of that first one. Like, it takes a special kind of actor to dump all that exposition and you don't even blink twice. Like, you're just so enwrapped in what he's saying, and that's like that scene where we're in the White Room and he's like, and they turn the humans into batteries, and it's like, God, it's so good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm actually really excited for it. The other thing I was excited for is, you bet your ass I finally started watching the original Bill and Ted again last night. Dude, I love that movie so much. Because my wife started watching, what's it? I don't want to say, was it called Miss USA? It's the one with Kate Blanchett. Did you see it?
Oh, yes. Mrs. America. Yeah, great series.
So
great series.
I haven't watched it yet. My wife started watching it. It was very interesting. But then I'll be honest, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. And I thought the cast was incredible. But in my head, all I kept seeing was Rufus.
And I kept seeing Rufus pop down, and I snuck into my room and I started watching Bill and Ted. And she's like, "You started watching Bill and Ted?" I go, "I did." She kept fighting against it. So finally, as I'm watching in bed, she's like, "All right, I'll watch it with you." I was like, "When the last time you saw it?" She's like, "When it came out." I was like, "Exactly." So I'm not going to lie and tell you that I am not super excited to revisit Bill and Ted, San Dimas High School. Certainly, football rules. All right, there's a lot, like a shit ton of other stories I saw this morning. What else is going on there, Goddard?
Speaking of people returning to great franchises, Jake Johnson wants to make sure he's in Spider-Verse 2. He did an interview with Get Fandom this week and said, quote, "I would really hope so. I really love playing Peter B. Parker. I literally recorded that movie for, I think it was over 2 years. People don't realize most of with animation, you do 2 or 3 words over and over. I lived with that character before anyone knew what was happening for so long. I love the material. I would love to see Peter, what happens to him. I would love to see Diddy and MJ get back together. Did he become a dad? Is he still a superhero? Is he a dad and a superhero?" But these are all as a fan now, because in terms of the inside, I'm not at the table making decisions, but I would love for Peter B. Parker to come back, end quote.
Yeah. Roxy, this is I think that we agree that this is the best Spider-Man movie ever put out.
It's amazing. And there's also room for like 18 different spin-offs, which is brilliant that they did it this way. It would be a real shame if they didn't ask him back at least in one of the 15 different character breakoffs they're going to do. He's such a talented actor, live action, and also then VO actor as well. So I think he's gonna have no problem here. And I like that he's putting it out into the universe too, because it's like, hey, in case you guys are thinking about doing this project, which you definitely are, especially because animation is the only thing that can be done right now during quarantine. Here I am, would love to sign up. Thank you.
Agreed. No shit, he wants to come back.
Yeah.
Should come back. He was great in it. He probably had a great experience on it. So, yeah, man. Oh, here you go. Look at this. Joshua Damash. Thank you for the wonderful donation there, Joshua. Hey, everyone. Yahya Abdul Mateen II is rumored to be young Morpheus, and Matrix 4 is rumored to be in a different timeline, hence Trinity back. Rockstars for the win. Yeah, but she's older, though. That's the thing. I mean, maybe they fast. That's the thing. She's older.
I don't know what this means at all, but Yahya Abdul Mateen II is like literally the hottest person on the planet, so he can do no wrong. Whereas his blue dong added to the Matrix,
and a great actor.
That's what I meant. That's what I said. RB3. He's really
we don't have to objectify him. You know, we don't have to.
I said he's very talented looking. Also,
with a
talented.
But a horse penis.
Yeah, we all saw Watchmen.
You understand? What are you doing today? Well, I'm working with my horse penis. All right, fine. Welcome to the show. Anyway, so that's I'm pretty pumped that he wants to come back, and he should come back. But I also want to see those guys work on more shit, and I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. All right, what else?
Fishburne is available, so if they want to get him in on that one.
That was good, Brett. What's next? What else we got?
Tenet. We haven't talked about that in 17 hours. We've got some rules that Warner Brothers is trying to lay down at the box office for these theaters. Warner's is reportedly asking for 63% of the box office receipts. While above 60% isn't incredibly rare, it's still seen as a big move. For a single screen location, the studio wants a minimum of 4 weeks being shown guaranteed. For twin screen, a minimum of 5. For those with 3 to 8 screens, they demand 8 weeks on the biggest screens. For those with over 9 screens, Tenet is to be shown for at least 12 weeks. Oops, sorry.
Okay, go nuts, RB3.
This is ridiculous. This is Warner Brothers bullying the movie theaters and the movie theater industry. Like, this is what this move essentially is taking advantage of the situation of that movie theaters aren't able to show a lot of movies. There aren't a lot of new releases coming out. So Tenet is literally going to these movie theaters and saying, hey, you want potentially the biggest movie that you could get over the next few months? You have to do it exactly the ways we want to do it. You have to pay us the exact amount we want to pay. And by the way, they're going to be at 50% capacity anyway. So these movie theaters aren't going to be making the same kind of money they'd be making anyway. So it's not even a feasible option for.
It reminds me of like Al Capone running around back in the.
There's some gangster stuff, man. They breaking knees.
But I'm sorry, RB3, you're not wrong. However, the other side of this is it's not like the movie theaters are thriving right now and they're deciding to bully tenant for no reason. Movie theaters are fucked. They're fucked. And they're like, okay, we are fucked right now. How do we stay alive? How do we stay open? What can we do? This is what they decided they could do in order to make it. COVID is a tough time for everybody. And I don't think that they're just bullying the film because they're like, we can do this. A lot of them really need it. So I don't know.
I think it's column A, column B. I think there's a little bit of both. It's the fact that like they know that exactly what you just said, Rox. It's like they know that these theaters are hurting. It's like, okay, look, you guys need this, and it's tough business, right? That's what they're doing. It's more like, okay, look, you want this movie, this is what you have to do. Otherwise, guess what? You don't get this movie. And what are you going to show? Bloodshot? You know? So that's basically what they're doing. So
you got it. But AMC literally is on the brink of bankruptcy. Like this is how close the situation is for a lot of these movie theaters, and that's just for the big corporations. I haven't mentioned the little theaters. So let's say like
single screen theaters, 4 weeks they can only show Tenet. Like I realize there's not much else coming back, but people do like going to see Jaws or Empire Strikes Back or something like that. I don't know.
They're both in trouble. The movie's in trouble. The movie theaters are in trouble. I hear you with the word bullying, but to me, like sometimes things are a business play, and I get it. I get this one. I don't prefer it, but I see what they're doing, and I don't know what their other options are because we don't know what they need to get done in order to accomplish whatever they have to do.
Well, especially 63% asking for the receipts of the film when you know they're probably not going to be selling many concessions. Like that's rough.
Well, look. So Nolan says, this is from Trash Panda. Nolan says Travis Scott's song in Tenet is the final piece to the puzzle. Very interesting. I'm into that.
Vinny Mancuso had the best tweet. He's like, if Christopher Nolan is the director to bring back the title song that explains the entire plot, he really is the hero of cinema. And I agree. He brings back the Will Smith Wild Wild West Men in Black vibes. I'm all about it.
Yeah. Someone asked me, so what's wrong with Bloodshot? I think I'm the only person who liked Bloodshot. None, but I mean, the fact that, we're going to get to this in a little bit. I guess the next story is that they're going to put it back. Okay, it's already been on demand. It's like they're putting, I guess, okay, put it back in theaters. Does it cost you any money to do so? If so, you probably should rethink it.
Yeah.
But if not, then, whatever.
I actually feel like Bloodshot would have done significantly better post-quarantine than pre-quarantine. Like my standards have been majorly lowered during this time for when I'm watching movies. Any of these movies that are popping up on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, I'm like, that's pretty good. In normal times, I'd probably be like, no. So if Bloodshot came back out, I feel like people would be like, this movie is freaking phenomenal because it's good enough.
I don't know if anyone's going to say it's phenomenal.
But they'll go see it. They'll go see it and they'll be like,
they might go see it just to see it.
Did I miss the theaters that much?
Yeah. I remember watching that movie. It was the last screening that I saw. I remember watching that movie and saying to myself, first of all, I remember thinking, I'm stoned. And the second thing I remember thinking is, this movie I should be not liking this, but I am enjoying this, and I am enjoying it a lot more than it's very stupid.
It was fine. It was fine.
It's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was there's some fun stuff. All right, so we covered Bloodshot coming back. That's enough. What's next?
We got some new outfits for Space Jam 2.
Yes.
LeBron James showed out Space Jam: A New Legacy from Spring Hill Entertainment and Warner Brothers. He's got if you want to, let me share my screen real quick. Can Christian? There we go. Yeah. These are the brand new Toon Squad outfits right there. Who else is starring in this one?
Pretty cool.
We got Chris Paul, Diana Taurasi, Klay Thompson, Chini Aguwemke. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I most likely did. Don Cheadle's also in this. So how are we feeling? But the main thing is about the jerseys. How do we feel about the Toon Squad jerseys?
I think it's awesome. Sick. Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, it looks like it's the old school opening of the end. Yeah, that's all, folks. Circle at the end there. I think it's good. I'm digging it. I think it looks pretty awesome. But
People have been trashing this
I know.
design
Why?
up and down all day on the internet nonstop.
One time, just one time, I want to see somebody go, that looks awesome. It's just like it doesn't surprise me that it's like, oh, it's trash. What's wrong with it? It's a fucking jersey.
What were you expecting for
Yeah.
a jersey
Right.
of a basketball team in an animated
Animated.
Looney
I
Tunes?
think
Like,
what's wrong with it?
I completely agree. When I saw RB3, I saw what you saw, which is that the internet was destroying this. And when you just kind of have to check yourself and you're like, what? Who are these? Who is spending the time to trash this right now? It looks like a Space Jam jersey. That's what, literally, if I pictured what a Space Jam jersey would look like, it would look like fucking that. I'm so excited for this movie. Nobody can get me down. And back off. Everybody just sit in your own lane.
Shill.
What?
Your Space Jam shill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you know
sure.
what it's nice to say? Don't say anything at all. Go shoot fly. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Now, if a legit basketball team came out in this jersey, maybe, you could give it some shit. But this is what's called a movie, and it's pretend.
Well, it's also
There you go.
it's the generational thing, right? Like people who saw the original Space Jam in theaters and it's attached to it as a kid, really love the original Space Jam design. This is for a new generation. It's colorful, it's bright, it's dynamic. And I feel like it incorporates, like you said, Kristian, the old with the Looney Tunes opening, with the new kind of fashion trends. I think it's dope. I thought it was dope.
The other thing, I don't know if you guys talked about it yesterday. If you did, apologies. But they're talking about remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with who? Is it Will Smith and Martin Lawrence?
Kevin Hart.
Oh, Kevin Hart. Here's why I don't like it. It's not because of the actors. I think the actors could actually pull off a lot of fun with it. I don't like it because John Hughes isn't around. John Hughes' flair to me, it's like if John Hughes was remaking it, he's around and he was remaking it with those guys, I'd be like, yeah. I just don't know. Remaking any John Hughes movies in general with any actors, no matter who they are, is to me a little. It's it's a premise like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm down with, and I think that Kevin Hart and Will Smith would actually be really funny together. I can really see their chemistry. You can tell they're going to be pretty good together. I'd like to see their roles reversed because in the movie that that the John Candy role will be Kevin Hart and that Steve Martin will be Will Smith. That's I'd like to see it reversed because you know what I mean, because you always expect Kevin Hart. I think Kevin Hart has way more range than he's given in these movies. He plays the same character every single time, and I'd like to see him do more. But I also think you could do I'd rather see something like. You know what that reminds me of? That movie reminds me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'd rather see something like that as opposed to a straight remake because I think that you have to live up to too much. B, John Hughes isn't around, and I think a movie like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is better than doing a straight remake. But how did you guys cover it yesterday?
Well, got to ask for a quick question. Did you like Due Date with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr.?
Hated it.
Yeah. I think that's the closest thing we've had, and it did not work at all.
Hated that movie, and I thought that was, and I remember saying it reminds me of a bad attempt at Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Wait, Kristian, no worries either way, but were you bringing this up because you were saying it's unlike Space Jam in which you want to remake, or this was just a completely separate topic from Space Jam?
I was saying because it made me start thinking that, the second you see, because how everyone hates stuff, right? And the fact that everybody holds Space Jam so near and dear to their heart. So are they going to accept a new outfit, new aliens, new sneakers, new players, new story? Are they going to, is it going to be hard to please anybody because of it? And then I started thinking yesterday when I saw that, the Planes, Trains, and Automobile thing, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, but the difference for me is I don't mind a story that's similar. I just don't think you do a straight remake when John Hughes isn't around. That's just my personal.
Well, and that's what didn't bug me about it, though, is that it's more of a premise. It's not like they're redoing. It's a Ghostbuster. I mean, there's something very specific about Ghostbusters. You could make. I guess you're right. They could not call it that, but the premise of the film could be the same. But what we came to is we actually thought Will Smith would be better as the John Candy character because I think he can show that kind of sadness to being annoying more than Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart would just be kind of goofy and annoying, I feel like, and wouldn't have that just sad, lovable quality that John Candy had. And
I think that Kevin Hart had. First of all, I think Kevin Hart has that. I just don't think he's been allowed to explore it as much. There's some roles that he does show a lot more range than they've given him, and I think that he could do that. That's why I'd also like to see him reverse and don't play the annoying, goofy guy that he plays in every movie. Let him be the other guy. Let him be that because I can see him pulling that off, being the guy that's trying to get home and all. I could absolutely see him doing that. And then you have Will Smith. I could also see Will Smith playing that type of character, the Galifianakis character or the John Candy character. So anyway, Joshua Damash says Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is of its time. I also don't think Kevin Hart's humor works in. That's pretty much what Brett just said also. So, all right, let's see. Is there anything else? I know that we're going to do this discussion. Don't worry about the discussion part yet. Any other stories that are standing out yet, Ben?
This one I was, just scrolling through Dark Horizons. George Miller is kind of contemplating of what he wants to do with Furiosa. We've heard prequel, we've heard sequel, we've heard Charlize wants to come back, for Anya Taylor-Joy. And so, quote, I said there's two ways to go. One is utopian, which is not an interesting story, really. I've somehow imagined that the first thing she would do in line with that is go up, release the water. It wasn't withheld, a new deal politically. The second is they basically relinquish self-interest in order for some common good. You become the holdfast, you become the orthodoxy, you develop the dogma, and basically you have to protect it. I think she's too smart to fall into that trap. She's already seen it with Immortan Joe. I believe he went through the same process. He was probably a heroic character in his own time, end quote. So, where would you guys want to see, do we want Charlize back? Do we want an Anya Taylor-Joy prequel of Furiosa? And if it is Charlize, what would you want to see? Would you want to see her become the villain? If you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, which one would you guys want to see for Mad Max Fury Road 2?
I'd rather see Charlize Theron come back, establish what she did, and I don't want to see her become a villain. That's me. What do you think, Rox?
I agree. I actually completely agree. I think it's not that she couldn't pull it off. She, to me, is the best living actress on the planet. Obviously, her and Meryl, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that. She could do it and she would make it work, but I don't want to see her go bad like that.
Yeah, agreed. Brett, what do you think?
I wanted to see Charlize come back. I'm a big Charlize fan. So
I think that Charlize, though, I think that what she just has established more so of this badass action hero. But as far as Furiosa goes, that she's the one that stood out more so than Mad Max. It was it was her movie. I mean, it
totally.
was her.
Well, that gets me to the question of when they say if she could play a villain role, will she actually be the villain or will Mad Max be the villain? You know what I mean? Maybe they flip it. Maybe Furiosa is really the protagonist of the story and Max just keeps getting in her way. Maybe it's something like that. And I think that could be a really interesting direction they could take the story too, because for the most part, the Mad Max franchise is just following Max on his adventures through these different places or these different regions or people. It'd be interesting to see that flipped around a little bit and see him being more the destructive force.
I mean, honestly, I felt like they did it in Fury Road. I felt like Max was kind of the antagonist. You had Furiosa trying to rescue these enslaved women. Meanwhile, Max just comes along. He's like, nope, give me your water, give me your car, and then I'm going to leave and try and get this, this mask off my face because I'm Tom Hardy and I wear a mask in every movie that I'm in. But no, so I feel like they already kind of did that where
men, am I right?
Patriarchy.
So I think they did that already where Max is kind of he definitely became the side character in a Mad Max movie and I liked it.
Agreed. We'll see what's going to happen. I mean, there's so much more news. Who the hell knows when they're ever going to shoot anyway? But that's everything else as far as story goes? Because Brett's got some shit to talk about.
Yeah, he does.
Brett, let the peeps know.
First of all, I got my brand new prescription glasses on, so
looking good.
That's right.
So, do you experience stress or have anxiety or chronic pain or have trouble sleeping at least once a week? Then you're probably what we would call someone who is a human being in the United States right now. That I added that. That's my own thing. That's my own words. Everybody's going through a lot of shit right now, and even if they weren't, they're going through it right now. So if you're searching for something to help you out, what you need to do is discover Feels. It's premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. It feels naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. I've used it lots of CBDs before, and this one really I love a lot because it really helps you dial in your dosage, because it's something you need to play with to get the right amount, because it can also give you a little boost, but it also can make you sleepy. There's two different ways to use it. So you take the Feels, and it's like a little tincture, and you put it on your tongue, and you feel the difference in a few minutes. And like I said, you got to find the right dose. Everybody's different. So leave room for experiment for like a week or so, and you need to take more or less to get the effects you're after. So if you're new to CBD, the really cool thing, and my mom will contest to this, is that they have a hotline you can call, and she actually talked to a person, and they helped guide her through the whole process of what she should actually get. It helps you naturally feel better. There's no high, hangover, and addiction. So if you want to join the Feels community and get Feels delivered to you every month, you'll save money on every order, and you can pause or cancel at any time. So it's got me feeling better every day, and it can help you too. Become a member today by going to feels.com/SEN, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/SEN to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. One more time for the people in the back. Feels.com/SEN. Get some.
Thank you, Brett. And once again, if you go to the link in the description, you can check that out. Very excited here. Big day for us. At 11 a.m., the great Kevin Smith will be joining us. So make sure that you tune in 11 a.m. If you didn't already know, you can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere you want to listen to podcasts, and make sure you get SEN Live and check out the movie Trivia Schmodown. That's one of the big reasons we're talking to Kevin Smith here today. He's got a massive match against Chris Jericho that is coming up on the 28th. And Roxy, I got to ask you, how's Jericho feeling about this match against Kevin Smith?
You know, I think that they are very evenly matched. I have to make sure, and I hope that this is where we get where Jericho can get Smith, is that we are better at the game, because their knowledge, I think, is very evenly matched. And so I'm actually seeing Chris tonight, and we're going to fucking drill. Like, I'm no joke with this. We are going to drill and make sure that he is prepared. So I'm feeling good. But, you know, when you're going against Kevin Smith, you just don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that you would assume that Kevin's knowledge, when he goes into this, it's going to be Kevin's knowledge versus the determination of Chris Jericho, because the guy, whatever he goes into, whenever he puts his mind to, he accomplishes. Hey, I feel like I want to be a professional wrestler. Okay, well, you're a champion in every division you go. I feel like I'm going to be a musician. He sells out, and he's like a very accomplished musician and rock star. He's a rock star.
Something I will say, he is a total rock star. Something I will say is that I was pretty surprised about what Jericho's strengths are. That surprised me. I don't want to give away too much more, but I was like, oh, where you are strong, this is going to definitely depend on the wheel, but I think that we could eat Smith alive depending on how this goes. So that was a little surprising to me, because I don't think that he's just a man of many passions, and I don't think you would see it coming what his true focuses are.
And we'll talk about it. Like I said, we're going to talk to Kevin about that when he's on at 11 o'clock, plus other things. I'm very curious to hear more about Masters of the Universe, Clerks 3, Mallrats 2. He tweeted out yesterday that he submitted his thing for the Green Hornet. I want to hear about that. There's so much that I wanted to talk to him about for years. And I've had conversations with him off air, obviously a couple different times, and on air once, but that was for Sundance and when I saw Yoga Hosers. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have him on and to talk, because he's just a genuinely really good human being, like when you talk to him in general. So it's gonna be nice to just have him shoot the shit. So thank you, Trash Pan. And he is also
Trash Panda. So trashy.
Right.
So Roxy, can you tell me a story about what you did yesterday, just in general? What was your day like?
Yeah,
good. Tell me.
I had an issue with the AT&T person. Okay.
Well, what?
So yesterday morning, somebody came over yelling at me about a tree in front of a pole.
Right.
And they got in my face and were really aggressive and mad at me. Okay. And then I didn't end up getting the internet. So I'm actually currently streaming off of my hotspot on my phone because, you know, you pay whatever money you got to pay in order to talk to Kevin Smith today. So, yeah, that's, you know, and then also a little bit of food. I went for Grammy's birthday. That was amazing. She's 93. It's pretty incredible. Yeah, I turned 93. We had cake. It was wonderful. And Italian food. She loves Italian. Jews tend to love Italian food and Chinese. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you for asking. For the first time, Kristian, since we've been hosting together for the last 7 years, you asked me about my day. Thank you so much for highlighting that beautiful moment.
You got it. Excited. So this is the type of show that we're doing. Do you guys? Do we have any questions in Streamlabs that have come up, Ben, thus far?
We've got a few Streamlabs. If you want me just to start reading them off, we've got a nice little handful.
Go ahead.
House Heisenberg, just finished my first watch through of the Clone Wars after finishing the final breathtaking 4 episodes. This is easily my favorite Star Wars show. Kristian, how would you rank all 4 Star Wars show? My order is Clone Wars, Rebels, Mando, Resistance.
Oh, Mando number 3? You crazy? I mean, I guess because it's only got 1 season, so I think that's fair. And this is it recency bias? I guess so, but I would put Mando as number 1 because you don't understand this is what I've been looking for when it comes to Star Wars for a long time, since like Jedi. This is the type of stories and the feel that I've been looking for. So it is, and I think there's so much potential. But to be fair, the other reason why I was I think that it works so well is everything that Filoni kind of set up in Clone Wars and in Rebels. So I would say that my favorite show is probably be Mando, then Clone Wars, and then Rebels, which all 3. And Resistance. I don't know. I didn't really watch much of it, to be honest.
I haven't watched Resistance either.
Yeah. So that's how I would put. But I do understand. I do understand how Mando would probably go lower for most, because there's only 1 season as opposed to the massive seasons of both Rebels and Clone Wars. So I get that. And there's some great storytelling in all of those. And I think that if Mando can stay consistent over the next couple seasons, I think it'll jump on everybody's list. So I understand that for sure. Okay. So does anybody else has anyone else watched all the shows or can talk about it?
I haven't watched Resistance, but I think I'd go Clone Wars 1, Mando 2, Rebels 3.
Yeah, I understand it. I get it. There's just
more. There's just more of Clone Wars. Yeah,
there's more. Dagan, no, it's not. So let's see. Where's where else is there anything else? Oh yeah, next question. Sorry, next question.
We've got a lot for Kevin Smith, so I'll save those just in case we have time for that. But again, no promises, guys. Thank you so much for all the Streamlabs, though. Let me look through these real quick. Talk amongst yourselves.
I had a movie news thing I saw this morning, TV news. Ooh. If that helps to fill the time in which we are talking amongst ourselves. Patriot Act was canceled this morning. Do you guys? That's like my favorite show with Hassam Minhaj. And Patriot Act. It's like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, but it's Hassam Minhaj's show on Netflix. Yeah. And it was so strange that it was canceled because it was one of the only shows I know that was like actually taping during this time. Because it's just him on a set and they were doing it. So, and also the show is brilliant. I was really upset to find that out because I'm a massive, massive fan of his. I'm hoping it's because he's on to like bigger things because that show never really got off the ground. Did any of you guys watch it at all?
Yeah, I watched
it. I used to watch it. Yeah.
I prefer Last Week Tonight, but it was still good. It was well produced, and he's a good host.
I think that's reminds me of the like the same thing when it comes to like movie reviews and stuff now, right? There's just so many of those types of shows now. Mm-hmm. Like there used to be just like 3 or 4 of those types of shows.
It used to just be like Jon Stewart, and that was pretty much it.
Now everybody does it. It's like it's. I remember, like I said, when Ellis and I started doing reviews, there were 4 people doing reviews. Now everybody does reviews. Everybody does movie stories, and you see it. It's watered down here, and it's getting watered down over there. So it's like, and it's not that there isn't good content in all those people who are covering all of those things. It's just like there's so much. Okay, well, I'm going to watch that, but I don't have time for that. And I think that's probably what happened. I would assume that the ratings just kind of went down. I would guess.
I also think that they did the world's shittiest job marketing that show ever. Yeah. They just randomly dropped seasons every several weeks, and then they would take months off, and you had no idea when anything was coming out. And especially when you're not driving around Los Angeles or driving around whatever city you live in, that if you live in a place that has billboards or anything, like I didn't even know a new season of this show dropped because there was nothing telling me that. It just happened to be there. So
Netflix, they just put it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to push back on that a little bit, Roxy, because I don't.
Come at me, RB3. Come at me.
I'm not coming at you for sure, but I do think like Netflix often gets criticized for like not having a marketing budget or whatever, but like they have a very specific science when it comes to like algorithms and like who sees what on their like home screens or whatever. So like even though like I don't see any billboards for Patriot Act literally every single time I log on Netflix, because I watch a lot of political documentaries and a lot of political commentary. Literally, that's the first thing that instantly pops up like all the time. You know what I mean? So I think they do a good job of putting it in front of people who want to watch it, but they don't do a good job, I guess, promoting it outside of its core audience. But, you know, I didn't really love it that much. Honestly, I thought it was okay. I just, you know, I think I thought he was good. I thought the presentation was good. The spectacle was good, like the screens and stuff, the animation. But I just think his politics are a little, you know, not in line with whatever I think. But the quality of the show was amazing, though. So that's
really interesting, and also probably proves the crap that I watch on Netflix versus the meaningful things that you watch, because they just keep recommending Kissing Booth to me over and over again.
Daniel Almendrales says, "Hey Christian, I just got hooked on Peaky Blinders on Netflix, and it's amazing. If you like organized crime, this is your show." Hey Brett, hi Roxy. So Makuga's been telling me, and Bonnie have been talking about this forever, and I remember watching the first one, and like most things in my house, wife's like, not into that, and that was the end of it. So what do you think I need to go back and watch this? What should I rather watch? Is it that, or is it Boardwalk Empire?
No, it's Peaky Blinders. But as somebody who's only seen a couple of seasons of both, I saw 2 seasons of Boardwalk. How many seasons were there of Boardwalk?
I think there's 5.
Oh,
okay, so I only saw 2, and I've only seen the first 2 of Peaky Blinders so far, but I stopped Boardwalk, and I'm not stopping Peaky Blinders. That show is, I mean, it to me, it's closer to Sopranos than it gets credit for. It's so good. It's so good.
I'd go Boardwalk, just because I can't take anyone seriously in the show when they call themselves Peaky Blinders. That is the least threatening gang name I've ever heard.
I have a question before we move on to this. This is something I thought about too, and I don't know if anybody has the answer. Maybe you do. Maybe you're experts. But there are tons of fucking spiders in LA. They're all
I know.
So when I saw the other day, and this is just because my new, if you've been following the show or any of the shows that we've been doing for a while, like, you know, my war on the squirrels and the things that had happened with the squirrels, that war has ended, at least for the time being. And my new war is with these spiders, right? The question I have though is this: and this is how stupid I get and Elmer Fuddish I get when it comes to whether it's squirrels or spiders. I see this one fucking web just hanging across, and it looked like it took a lot of time to really make. It looked like it took a lot of time. So I fucking just smashed that thing down. Dude, it was going to hit my daughter in the face, right? So I just, I'm taking it, and it's like, it's in the backyard around the toys and stuff too. I'm like, if you're in my backyard, this is the war that you're fighting. I was like, if it's in a tree across the street, I'm not going to fuck with you. That's your space. Yeah. But if you're in my space.
You started the war though, Christian. You started it.
I did? How did I start the war? I moved.
If you knock down their home, like you just destroyed their home.
No, they're already part of it. So let me ask you a question. when that, and I don't know if that was their home. This is just one string. It wasn't like the big like little web inside of a tree that I went to. It was like it was from the tree to, and I don't even know where it went because it just stopped. I was like, what's it connected to? I couldn't even see what it's connected to. It was this big long fucking thing. And I said to myself, I said, is that just like blowing a load for a spider? It's just like, okay, I'll blow another one. You know, it's like or is it was a lot of work? That's the question I have for the panel.
One strand?
I think it's hours. I think it's a lot of work. Like, have you ever watched a spider stoned? you're stoned, the spider's not. Like if you
Oh.
sit and watch them do their work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that
the
shit
spider's
is
not-
good.
Hey, I'm not killing the spider. Sometimes do and there was no spider even seen. Like I didn't see. I'm just saying. Okay, look. If you're gonna bite my kids on the knees, I'm gonna fucking knock down your house, and you got to build another one.
If it's
Christian's
on
like
your property,
Christian's like
it's
Diego
in your
Luna
space.
and
Yeah.
Christian's like Diego Luna and Rogue One. It's like, I've been fighting this war since I was 6 years old.
Right. Right. That's exactly right.
I don't think a strand took a. I think the strand is the thing they kind of swung over to make wherever they were making
they
them.
just leave their mess. So
Yeah.
But if it's that far, it's not coming from the ceiling. They're going across body.
the house. This is outside. It was like it was from.
Yeah.
It was in the yard. It was from like from where my grill is to. No, like infinity. It just stopped. I don't know where it was. It was connected to something, but you can't see it. It's tricky. It's tricky.
What's happening that we're covered in spiders all of a sudden? It's the heat or what?
Yeah, it's just the heat.
Yeah,
That's why.
Oh, you want to go back to that one, Christian?
Yeah, I want to go back to the other one.
Right.
Since the pandemic, has the traffic in LA improved, or is it still a crapshoot? It's definitely improved. It's a lot easier to. I mean, where do we go? On the weekends, not so much, but we went somewhere. Oh yeah, when I went to take my family to get Pizza Wagon of Brooklyn, normally, and we left at like 5 o'clock on I think it was like a Friday, right, or something.
Ooh.
Normally, that's going to take an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. Took us 5 minutes.
Wow.
25 minutes to get there because there's nobody's going to do it. Nobody's
Where
doing
is it?
it. Sherman Oaks.
it's not as good as it was before. Like early
Yeah, back
on,
in like March and April, it was amazing. But now it's like
Yeah.
it's,
And now
it's
people are
slowly
trying.
becoming normal again.
True.
Yeah.
What was the
And
other
by
one?
the beach, it's awful.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. The Peaky Blinders were a real gang in Britain. So I guess what? Go back in time and tell them you can't take them serious.
Yeah, I'll go do that.
well, you know what the Peaky Blinders thing is, right? Though, Ben, or no?
Yeah, they've got razor blades in the hat.
yeah.
And again, like swinging a golf cap at me.
Wait.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't make it through the first two. I mean, is this one of those ones where if you get through the first season, you're really gonna love it, or is this
I like the first season. It was a fine show. I just didn't pick up the second season. I watched the first season. Like I didn't come back for the second.
Yeah. The other thing I tried last night for like a little bit, which I probably could get into it if I said was Dave.
Oh my god!
yeah.
I just finished that show. Holy shit! Did you start watching it because I tweeted about it?
No, I just started watching because we were looking for stuff. Sorry, Rox. We just started looking for stuff, and I think I can get into it. I found Dave a little annoying, but I think you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's the most annoying person on the planet. But if you don't like the first scene of that show, you're not gonna like the show.
The first scene was funny. The
So if
doc-
you like the first scene, then you'll like it. But by episode 5, to me, it was like one of the most brilliant shows I've seen.
I think it's way more for me than I knew. The second I started watching it, it's definitely not for my wife. There's no doubt.
You
No.
will like it. You will like it. Your wife might like it though. It's romantic. It's a little sweet. It's
All right.
No, come on, RB3.
You tweeted. No, I'm just kidding.
California, we have tons of spiders in Chicago at the moment. I've got 2 behemoths on my back porch with some crazy web. It's cool to watch them make their web. Yeah, when they're off in the distance doing their own shit, then yeah, they're fascinating to watch. There's no doubt about it. It's when you start hiding in my 3-year-old's like bike, you're toast.
Mm.
Like
Well, we have Black Widows. That's the
what I'm
one
saying.
that scares the
That's what I'm
shit
saying.
out of me
Yeah,
out here.
we
There's a Black Widow right by the garage, and it's like there's a time, and they're spiders. They don't know, but they should know. Just don't stay in your lane.
But the giant ones, my wife keeps having me get in the house. I'm like, well, you don't know what a giant spider. The ones in Nebraska, the butts on them, or the abdomen, or whatever the hell you called it, were the size of my thumb, and they were disgusting. Like, those are huge spiders. The ones out here that aren't black widows, the little ones that crawl in your house, those are. And also, I'm a catch and release guy. You don't want to kill them because if you want a bunch of mosquitoes in your yard, then kill all your spiders. You know, so.
Yeah. All right. Let's
Public
see.
service
So
announcement.
today- Thank you. Excited to see Kevin Smith. Us too, Landon.
Thank you,
appreciate
Landon.
that very much, Landon. And yeah, Kevin Smith coming on in just around 10 minutes here, so we're pretty pumped about
Yeah.
What's
I
your
gotta-
favorite Christian
my favorite
Kevin
what?
Smith movie?
Mallrats.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, for me personally, Chasing Amy is not only one of my favorite movies of all time. It literally inspired me to look into like the art of screenwriting. Like,
You gotta tell him that. You gotta tell him that.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, it's one of those impactful movies, and it's a meaningful movie to me for sure.
Rox, there's
Yeah.
it was her house, right? It wasn't her.
She was there.
She was there.
This is a I've been talking to her. I feel fucking awful for her. Obviously, she's a close friend of mine, and this is a disgusting situation in which I hope this person fucking rots. I mean,
so this guy was looking to kidnap somebody, right? And like took over her house or something. What happened?
Yeah.
Can you talk about it or not?
I can't talk much about it except it's in the public news. So what I can say is the story, which is that
say what you want.
This guy had been planning to kidnap her, and during quarantine came to her house and with a knife and broke in, and she ran, and he waited at the bottom of the stairs because he thought that she ran upstairs, and she ran out and called the police, and they came, and he was still at the bottom of the stairs, and they got him, which is amazing that they did. But really, really fucking scary, and just like my biggest fear as a woman in the industry, living by myself. I mean, this is this fucking scary as shit. So I feel awful for her.
Yeah. So, but that's crazy. So, like I had
stalked her for 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
I originally heard that she was that she wasn't there, and then she was actually there. That's nuts. I didn't know that part of it. So, man arrested on kidnapping charge at. Oh, jeez, and it was in Florida.
Yeah.
And he was found inside the home with a knife, plastic zip ties, duct tape, and mace. Like
disgusting. Man.
Yeah. Also, though, like she is the most badass person and is UFC trained. So, like, if he had not had that knife, I wish she kicked the living shit out of him and fucking like, what a piece of shit. Yeah, and I bet she fucking could have. Just horrible story. Horrible story.
Trying to move on. What advice would you give, just from D-Train, would you give to someone who doesn't know when they're going back to work, hates doing the same things every day, and not show what goals are because of COVID? Look, D-Train, this is something we should probably just talk about in general, because you're feeling the way that a lot of us feel. In general, this is this situation is just, it's so hard. And I was talking about at the beginning, like a simple thing. Not a simple thing, but one of the biggest things that's going on in the public, and especially for parents, is kids in school, right? So school started today, and it turned the morning into this peaceful morning that we were having into an absolute just shit show because of everything you had to do with, and it's nobody's fault. It's the schools are trying to figure out how to do this online stuff with these codes and things and all this stuff that you have got to do. My poor daughter was all excited about going to school, and now it was a crying mess and this and that, and it's like there's just, the world is so different right now, and it's so fucking weird and so strange that the only thing that you can really do is try to, I don't know, just lock into positive thoughts. And I know it's cliche, and I know it's very easy to say, but try to lock into positive thoughts and say, you know what, when the shit gets better, when the shit's happening, I'm going to do this, and start something new creatively, whether it's a fucking book or writing down thoughts or whatever it might be, and those types of things. You'd be surprised how much that they help. I don't know if anybody else has anything different.
Have you tried laying in your bed and crying? That one helps sometimes. Staring at the ceiling is a good one I like to take in.
Yeah.
Doing nothing and being completely overwhelmed by the weight of the world and things that are outside of your control is a solid one for sure.
But then at 9 o'clock at night going, shit, I haven't done anything any day, and then clean a bunch of stuff just to make yourself feel better. But no, it sucks, and I agree with Kristian. I mean, it is hard to reevaluate because a lot of jobs aren't going to really necessarily be available anymore, and that's the tough thing. And it's not as easy as someone who I won't mention said, that just go find a new job. It's, I think what Kristian said, find something to do to occupy yourself that isn't doing what I do most of the time, which is lay and fret.
Look,
I mean, they asked. Oh, go ahead, Kristian.
No, I was just going to say, because we only have about 7 minutes. We want to get some of these questions in. But Kerry Smart says, hello from Wales. What are the chances of getting an Andrew Santino versus Bobby Lee MTS match? I've pitched it. And, and I got
the dude in Dave?
Yeah, he's his friend. Santino.
I've never seen him before. He's good.
Yeah, Santino is a buddy of mine, and so I pitched it. I sent him an email, and he said he was going to talk to Bobby about it. Bobby and Andrew are good pals of mine. So
who is Bobby?
Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee, Mad TV, and he's very funny.
You definitely know who Bobby Lee is, Roxy.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
You know him if you saw him.
And I love your story.
Out of that world.
Thank you. I mean, I got to tell a bunch of those stories on Brett's show, which I was pretty excited to do, and I'm also excited. I'm going on Sam Roberts' show. coming up on. I don't know. I think we're pre-taping, so I don't know when it's going to air, but going on that pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about that. All right, let's get some more questions before we move on, because I do want to talk about this one topic that we discussion potential. All right.
Okay. Curtis, appreciation post for the lovely Roxy Striar. You was smart, you was kind, you was special, and you was hot AF. Did my attempt to flirt work? No? Okay. Love you anyway, Roxy.
Curtis, I thought it was great. Get it. Slide in them DMs. No, that's not really to that part, but thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it.
Seth Bayless. As an aspiring writer, I always find myself referring to some kind of favorite scripts when looking for tone, structure. However, I fear my voice will get lost if I rely on others. Can the writers in the room speak to the experience here? Stay rad.
Say that
RB3 is not here.
RB3 just walked out. So when you say the one for RB3 when he comes back, and then Emperor Dethroned says, spent the weekend at Apocalypse East Mad Max themed event, all in theme costume vehicles. Check it out. Going back next year, amazing time. I will tell you that probably if the world goes the way it is, you won't have to spend any money on it. It's just going to turn into that anyway next year.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Living vicariously through it right now.
Start working on your modified vehicle construction ideas.
That's right. Hitman Hudson. Which Kevin Smith film would work best if you replace the whole cast with Muppets, except for one cast member of your choice? Also, Sun in Lockdown is amazing. Would you rather see Zack Snyder's Little Women or Kevin Smith's Pride and Prejudice?
Kevin Smith's Pride and Prejudice.
Kevin Smith's Pride and Prejudice for sure.
For sure.
So which
Why
Kevin
does everybody
Smith?
keep asking that question?
I don't know.
Does that become an internet thing?
What? Replacing Muppets?
Pride and Prejudice. No, the Pride and Prejudice question, and then like
I haven't heard that one before.
New directors. I've been asked that a couple of times recently.
So I do want to know though, which Kevin Smith film would work best if you replace the whole cast with Muppets, except for one person.
Clerks.
My favorite Kevin Smith film is Dogma, and I think that probably would be best as well.
Dude, Clerks, and you have Dante stay in the movie the whole entire time, and everybody else is Muppets. We ask Kevin that question when he comes in.
Yeah, we should.
Kevin, save that for that because
okay,
that's Can you? I mean, you can totally see like all the different Muppets coming in to do all the shenanigans, and you can have like Animal dancing around in the back. Oh yeah, come on, that's great. That's a great question. All right, next
do you think he's gonna put that wheel slice on the wheel?
Yes.
Damn, I hope he spins it and misses things. That would be incredible. I will.
All right, what's
Big Mo? Hey, Raureen. Love you guys, and I'm very pumped to have Kevin Smith on the show, but I am shamed to say that I've never seen a film of his. I was introduced to him on Comic Book Men. I love that show. So what is the first film of his I should watch?
Hey,
I mean,
Mallrats.
Vincent Bob?
I think
Clerks 2?
It gotta be Clerks.
Oh, Clerks 2.
Clerks 2?
No.
Clerks 1.
Yeah, I agree with RB3. If you're gonna start, you go with Clerks. It's the one that started it all for him, and you get because I think what Clerks 1 does is that it starts that tone, and you understand immediately because you always know. We talk about this all the time when a director or a writer, the real successful ones, when they do a movie, you can tell that it's their movie. And the second you're introduced to Kevin Smith's writing style in Clerks, you understand, and it carries on, and it carries on to all of his movies that he does and everything that he does. So this is
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, for sure.
RB3 is right on this one. Clerks.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Let me refresh real quick, and we got all the super chats going, so I don't need to look at that.
What?
Yeah, this trend is gone wild too, by the way. Thank you guys so much. Let's get to 700 likes before 11 so we can keep it going and everything like that. Let's keep liking the video.
All right, Big Mo, Last Cinema Sailor. Okay, we'll do this one real quick. Last Cinema Sailor. Hey, Ring, can we get drunk Brett upset with Kristian because he called dibs on too many beautiful women at CPK? Looking forward to an awesome week. Pizza USA #1.
Listen here, Kristian. We've been here for an hour, and you call dibs on every lady that has come in the room, and it's just plain disrespectful.
Did I really do that?
Yes, you did. And then you were like, I call her. It was probably not something that's very PC these days, but we weren't calling him in a way that we're gonna get a lot of trouble for this. No, but when you pointed at my now wife and you said dibs, I said no. That's my lady. And then I made her my lady.
Yes, you certainly did. I don't remember that conversation, so I can't confirm or deny.
You want me to-
you liar.
This is for Kevin. What was the coolest? Oh, we gotta wait for it. That's sorry.
do you want me to highlight these two from Red Wolf up here, Christian? I think we missed a couple up top. Super
go
chat. When can we get Josh Robert Tom Spawn back on? Love you guys. Keep your heads up. Keep everyone sane.
I would love to get him back on. I think he's another guy that are very reminiscent to like Brett, right? Where I think that these are superstars. These are superstars. I think that Josh Robert Thompson is a brilliant comedian. I mean, he's brilliant. I watched some of his pilot. Did you see any of it that he posted his pilot? I don't know if it was on Instagram or Facebook or where he posted it. It's fucking crazy in every way possible, and I love it. He's a really talented dude. So I would love to get him back on.
Guys, it's fucking 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock.
We're waiting.
The correct answer is Jay and Silent Bob
o'clock.
Strike Back. Kevin said it's inspired by the Great Muppet Caper. Wow.
Oh. All right.
That's a good movie.
We'll ask him. We'll ask him for sure. I mean, because we'll see what he says. But again, we'll see. It's 11, but I'm not.
Whenever Muppets or puppets? I don't remember.
Muppets.
Okay.
Is there any way to prevent Kevin Smith and Chris Jericho from constantly swearing during the Schmodown match?
Just think about beeping.
That edited by Nerd Chronic is just going to be a constant.
Jericho can do it.
Yeah, I think Jericho will be able to do it.
Jericho can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know
Do
about
we
Kevin.
want them to? I'd rather because bleeps are so funny.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what how it all goes down. But anyway, so like we said, it's we're still waiting on here. It's 11 o'clock, waiting for Kevin. As soon as he comes in, we'll be talking to him about. Like I said, we're going to be doing. There's a lot of definitely the Jericho match, but we'll ask him that Muppet question. We'll talk about other movies that he's working on. There's Jericho versus Smith, August 28th. That's right. Guy versus Bateman 2. It all goes down on the 28th, 5 p.m. That's going to be on this channel. So if you want to watch it, just subscribe. Brand new to this channel and you're watching, just go ahead and subscribe and you'll get that match on the 28th. Plus, we're doing a whole tournament here right now. We just started the tournament. A lot of big matches happening. We had Lon Harris and Sabina Graves that went up yesterday. Got the Sabrina Ramirez making her debut tomorrow against Vinny Mancuso. That's going to go.
She still has not spoken to me.
Is that true? Oh,
she popped in my chat, but will not respond to my text message.
Oh, I love it. I think she's making you pay for it. I like it.
What match is premiering today, Christian? Anything premiering today?
Yeah, let me look on the schedule because I don't want to say the match I think it is, and then it's not. But give me 1 second, and I'll tell you.
Oh, RB3. There's a question that came in for writing, and you're the only writer here.
Go ahead.
As an inspiring writer, I always find myself referring to some of my favorite scripts when looking for tone or structure. However, I fear my voice will get lost if I over-rely on others. Can the writers in the room speak to their experience here? Stay rad.
Well, I think all of us could speak to the creative experience of just like using your own voice. I mean, you do want to take inspiration from like other people's materials in terms of figuring out like structure and, tone or whatever, but ultimately make it you. Don't make it about anything else. Don't make it like you're trying to make it feel. A lot of people say, I'm trying to make it feel like this movie-esque. I'm trying to make it feel Clerks-esque. I'm trying to make it feel something like that. No, just make it yourself and make it personal. And that's the most important thing.
I totally agree with you, RBT.
All of y'all can speak to that, honestly. It's performance.
It's performance. It is absolutely making sure that it's look. The other thing I want to tell people about writing, directing, presenting, and I think RB3, you agree with that. It's all about passion.
Yeah.
It's all about passion. Making sure. Oh, so thank you. This is Garth McMurray. That's right. Preston versus Zipper. That's
a match right there, baby.
Big match here today. So make sure you check that out. And that's today. I think at 2 p.m. Don't forget. Also, we did the
Roxy. Why are you being passive aggressive in the chat when I literally asked this question?
I said, fine, go fuck yourselves, and you just kept moving forward.
What were you doing when I asked the question the first time?
Well, you said we need to wait for RB3, so I thought you were saying we needed to wait for RB3 to answer it. I didn't think you meant we needed to wait for RB3 because he was the only person.
I didn't know you'd done any of that.
Well, you never asked.
Good. Yeah. You step back into. Don't step back into what we stepped into a couple weeks ago. There, Goddard. Don't do it.
Yeah, but I know she's faking, so it won't throw me.
That's what they all say.
Poor Brett.
I just wonder who stole RB3's line? What is that
You did.
about?
You did.
Yeah,
did
you said
say?
disrespectful. You hit me with the disrespectful.
Oh no, that's called a tribute.
See, okay,
It's a
okay.
tribute
That's
to-
love.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I-
but this is what us white people have been doing to black people for years. It's a tribute.
Yeah, it's
You don't get it?
August 28th match card is like WrestleMania 28. Bateman and Guy is like Punk versus Jericho for the title, and Smith Jericho is like Rock versus Cena. Yeah, it's one of the biggest events that we've ever done. It's going to be incredible. It's like we got two of the biggest Schmodown stars ever against two of the biggest stars ever.
Yeah.
So,
Over and under 10,000 likes. Are we going to get on this video? Over and under 10,000.
man. I don't know. I always say under, so I don't have to live up to expectations. But it's I think that yeah, I don't know. I cross my fingers because you figure that's who the hell wants to miss if you're a movie fan in general, and even if or a wrestling fans, how do you not want to watch those two guys for the entertainment? I don't know if it's going to be the best trivia battle of all time. I have no idea. It very well might not be. But how would you not want to see Chris Jericho and Kevin Smith just kind of trading, just quips at each other and having some fun and talking about movies and seeing who can win this game? That'll be, and then you couple that with Bateman and Guy for a number one contender. Either one of those guys playing Merle again for the title.
Yeah,
come on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think that it will be fun to see what they know and they don't know. That will be just fun enough in itself. But the promos around the situation and the fact that the two of them are actually friends and have worked together multiple times and really will go after each other on this is pretty awesome. And I do feel bad for PJ saying no pressure on the question writers. Yeah, don't fuck this up, guys.
Right. Send him a note. Send him a text to don't fuck this up. That's it. You know what? Everybody, he's probably watching anyway. But everybody,
no, he is. He said no pressure, and I'm saying don't.
Everybody tweet it.
A lot of pressure. Don't fuck up.
Yeah, tweet at PJ Campbell. Just say, hey, don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll love it.
As we wait for Kevin to arrive, can we get some more of those Streamlabs questions while we
one of the last live things I went to was Kevin showing Jay and Silent Bob reboot in Providence. Was a fantastic night. Excited for you and Kev.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, that's the other thing that he has done throughout his career is that what he was able to do long before a lot of people was that he got himself involved in the podcasting world. And because he's a funny guy, because he is he's one of these guys he's got such a deep knowledge in film and pop culture that people really respect him. And that's why I remember the conversations I used to have with John Schnepp about Kevin all the time, and then when it turned out that him and Kevin were close, it made a lot of sense. But it was, he's just one of those guys. He really is just the everyman, but he's a funny dude and he's got the mind for it. So, anyway,
I was laughing listening to an interview of his from I think it was a month ago because he was talking about having this conversation with Jordan, which is Jamie Hughes' wife, and he was like, "Wow, the unemployment rates are at an all-time high," or whatever it was, and she was like, "Kevin, you're unemployed." Because during COVID, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I am unemployed." And he is just so the every dude,
yeah,
totally. I'm home and I'm unemployed.
Yeah. It's that's what it is for sure. I just got to know it. He's going to be joining us in just a moment. So, if crowds were back, this match could sell out Atmosphere. I would love that. Are you kidding me? I would love.
Oh my god, that would be unreal. What do you wish, Kristian? Obviously, if we were not in COVID, where do you wish this was?
At Spectacular, at a live event. I would put them in Spectacular, and if during the five or six matches that we had, they'd be the probably.
So of all the cities, you would be at LA.
I don't know. Chicago has a special place in my heart for what we saw. We will break that record of Chicago 1,000 people in the audience, but that
show was amazing.
And how loud it was in that place during the match, during the after stop, during all of it. I mean, that was one of my. I mean, Brooklyn, the first show, all the New York shows for me. Anytime I go back to New York, it's always special. The Orlando show was really great. I don't know, but I think Houston. I mean, shit. There's so many great shows that we've done, but Chicago to me, it would be interesting. But I don't know. There's something about LA doing a live event. I don't know where I'd like to have it, but I think any one of them. he'd be right. You could sell it out like that and put them in. I don't know. Maybe you don't put it in spectacular because you could probably just do something pretty fun with 2 matches with Smith and Jericho on the bill. So, anyway, so are there any more questions on Streamlabs?
156 Impulse. Hey guys, hope you guys are great. Love y'all. Adrian Bailey. Hi, SEN crew, and to the legend that is Kevin Smith. My first film of Kevin's I watched was Dogma in 1998. I was 18. I've been a fan of yours. Oh, this is for Kevin. I'm sorry, man.
All right. You know what we can do in the meantime while we wait is that I put it in the notes here too. When do we all think we're going to see a trailer for Mandalorian season 2? When do we think? I know there's rumors that we're going to get it during the playoffs of the NBA. Do you think that's let's start RB3? You think that's when they're gonna do it?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are excited about playoff basketball right now, so it's kind of the perfect time. And there's really nothing else like content-wise that's coming out on TV, like that's making a big splash. So I think it's probably going to be something like that, or maybe, I mean, we'll see what they do with the Mulan rollout. But maybe when Mulan comes out, they'll maybe put a trailer on top of that, same way they do with the Blu-ray releases, and maybe have like a trailer for Mandalorian when you buy the extra $30 for Mulan.
All right. Well, I would love to keep talking about the Mandalorian, but we're not going to do that right now because we have a very special guest coming into the show, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We have talked about it. I can tell you that, but besides just saying that this dude's one of my favorite people on the planet, and I've been watching his movies forever, and the fact that I've had the opportunity to interview him at Sundance, I sat with him and talked to him at Collider, right? We were talking about a lot of different things, just shooting the shit with this dude. But I am so excited to say that the league that myself and Mark Ellis created, that he is now an official competitor in the movie Trivia Schmodown, and he has a big match against Chris Jericho. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the one and only Kevin Smith.
What up, kids? How's everybody?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for being a competitor on the Schmodown. I can't tell you how excited we are.
It took COVID to finally get me on Schmodown. We've been talking about doing it for years, but something good came out of coronavirus.
No shit.
I'll be honest with you, though.
Yeah.
I've been sweating it, man. As we come closer, the match is on Friday. Like, people like Dan Murrell, like that dude's like smart. I thought I was movie smart, but he's like an encyclopedia. And Jericho is actually far more movie literate probably than me at this point. Me and him do a podcast called Grains and Greens sometimes when we sit there and watch like movies. We've watched a couple flicks together. We watched Damien Omen 2, and I thought I knew a lot about it. He knew way more. So he just like in real life, he could beat me up physically. He may be able to take me down hardcore at the Schmodown.
Well, we said it was funny because we were talking about if you were looking at this like a boxing match, you would say, all right, well, Kevin Smith obviously is going to be the heavy favorite here. You look at what he's known for pop culture, what he's done in movies, the references that you just make in your movies alone, and just hearing you talk about films and how much of a film fan you are, you'd be the overwhelming favorite. But it's hard to count out Chris Jericho because of what the man has accomplished in his lifetime and what he wants.
Renaissance man. He's a plate spinner like myself, so you can't pin him down with one thing. Yes, there's the one thing he's predominantly known for. For him, it's wrestling. For me, it's movies, I guess. But like both of us have spent a lot of time trying it all, tasting it all, stepping outside of the thing that gave us entree, if you will. So he's, here, man, this is what I think about. I've been thinking about as we lead up to Schmodown. I remember when we made Cop Out, then called A Couple of Dick. Day one of shooting the movie, that was when Bruce Willis liked me. Day one. We had worked together on Live Free or Die Hard, leading up to the start of A Couple of Dicks. He was very enthusiastic. When we started, day one was at a diner. The scene's not even in the finished film. We wound up reshooting the beginning with the interrogation scene instead. So the original scripted scene took place in a diner, and Paul and Jimmy are talking to each other, and Tracy Morgan's character gives Bruce Willis's character a birthday card. That still existed and stuff. So we sit down to shoot. Sorry if this is going to be a boring story, but trust me. We sit down to shoot, and Tracy is a ad-libbing genius. He's very funny, as we all know, Tracy Morgan. And you can't turn him off once you turn him on. So going into the movie, like before day one, I said, we got a great script, Tracy. We got to stick to the script, man. It's an amazing script. So like day one, like make sure you know the script and stuff. He's like, I will. So day one, we go to shoot. We're at a diner. And first take, wide shot, there's the two of them at the table. If you ever see a picture of me on set smiling with Bruce Willis, it was from day one. It's from this, before the rest of the show occurred. So we go in for the first take, and Tracy is on book, completely, like honoring the script, which was written by the Cullen brothers and was a what do they call that? The black book script or whatever, blacklist. It was black book script. A couple of dicks was.
Yeah.
And then I got it and we turned it into fucking couple of dicks. So we are, and Tracy's doing exactly what I asked him to, and he's doing the script. He talks first. Then Bruce starts talking. And Bruce is gazing out the window and looking at passerby in character as his character, Jimmy. And Tracy's talking, doing the scripted lines, and all of a sudden Bruce starts going like, is that Connie Chung out there? I think that's Connie Chung. Connie Chung, of course, newswoman.
Yeah.
For those who remember. So, Tracy, I see Tracy just kind of look and go like, yeah, I don't know, and then go back to the dialogue. Then 40 seconds later, Bruce goes, is that Maury Povich? God damn, I think that's Maury Povich. Now, they were at that point married, I think, or had been married. I don't know if they still are, Connie Chung and Maury Povich. They were a couple. So I was like, how weird. And so much so that I looked out the window going, is Connie Chung and Maury Povich out there? Then Bruce ad-libbed a Yoda line, did the voice of Yoda. And suddenly it all crystallized for me. All of Bruce Willis's pop cultural references stop when Bruce Willis gets famous. So up until, Moonlighting, he was paying attention to pop culture.
Yeah.
From Moonlighting forward, or probably Die Hard, he was pop culture.
Right.
And he stopped paying attention. So I remember sitting there that day going like, man, all those references roll. To be fair, after the first take, Tracy Morgan pulls me aside and he goes, Bruce is ad-libbing. I was like, yeah, I saw that. And he goes, well, I'm going to ad-lib now. And I said, okay. And Tracy, that morning when I had seen him before we started shooting the scene, Tracy comes up to me and he goes, Kev, you know what I did last night? I said, what? He goes, I watched Frankenstein. I said, the old one? He goes, yeah, man, Frankenstein. He's like, you know what? You know who's the worst character? The one who gets treated the worst in Frankenstein? Fritz. He's going, Fritz is always getting shit. And he did a 20-minute bit on Frankenstein, the movie, and particularly Fritz. So after Bruce ad-libbed on that first take, we're doing another take, and Tracy goes, I'm going to ad-lib now. And I said, you know what? He pulled the pin, so feel free, ad-lib all you want. We start the take again. Tracy's doing the scripted lines, happy birthday, Jim. We've been doing it for years. Here's a card, blah, blah, blah. Bruce looking out the window, and he goes, is that Connie Chung out there? He starts his ad-libbing again. And instantly, Tracy, without missing a beat, goes, yo, Jim, you know what I watched last night? Frankenstein. And he proceeds to do the 20-minute fucking bit that he had done for me for Bruce. Yeah. And I was like, I guess tested it on me and fucking sprung it on Bruce. Now, during that take, I watched Bruce Willis' face sink. And what I thought on that day was I felt like we were judged. Me and Tracy were judged. Like that he was like, this is the kind of movie I signed up for, where he's going to talk about fucking Frankenstein. Ugh. And that was that.
That was it.
From the next take where I was sitting next to him at the monitor and we watching playback, first take, he was all smiles. Second, and there's a photo of it to prove it online. Second take we watch, he was this. And he goes, he's going to ad-lib. How are we going to follow the script? And I'm like, well, you ad-libbed first. And this is what Tracy loves to do. And what I realized in retrospect is that dude was terrified on day one. because he sat across from one of the greatest comedic minds of our time, one of the fastest ad-libbers. He don't go for the low-hanging fruit. He's fucking talking about Fritz and Frankenstein. You know how deep cuts that fucking is, and you know how funny you have to be in order to make a fucking 50-60-year-old bit work.
100%. But the question, but Kevin, with the one thing though, because you said you were pretty, because you guys were all right on Die Hard 4 together, right? So, I don't know if this has been talked about or not. I just heard bullshit. But was he a dick to Justin Long too on that subject? I heard something like an acting coach, like he was an acting.
I wouldn't. Hold on. Let me finish the other thing before
sure.
Remind me, because I got something for that.
Okay.
The point of that story is now I feel like I'm Bruce Willis. I feel like all of my pop culture references stop at Clerks. So you want to know anything? Like, I hear myself on podcasts. I'm always like saying shit like, it's like this show. And then somebody in the audience or on Twitter will be like, well, I'll talk about, they got a moonlighting thing going on. And somebody would be like, why don't you say Castle, you old man? And even that's an old reference. So I feel like as much as I judged Bruce Willis going like, he don't fucking know any current pop culture, I think I'm going to feel that I'm going to be hoisted on my own petard on the Schmodown when I realize that, like, I'm like, I don't know, Mallrats, like all my shit. I'm going to answer Kevin Smith questions, but I'm afraid I'm going to fucking tank it. I feel bad for Coy and the quirky Mercs because they thought they were getting gold, but they're getting like the director version of Bruce Willis on Cop Out.
I also think you probably there's stuff that's that you'll know right away just from talking in general about movies that will hit, because I did see the clip when you and Mark Bernardin were talking about it, and he mentioned that Cool World question, right? And like
yes, right there. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, oh my God. And I would have known at one point in my life. Pre-Clerks, I could have told you every person in that cast. But once I like entered the pop culture, suddenly I stopped paying as much attention. Now, to be fair, I've paid way more attention than Bruce Willis, right? We do Fat Man Beyond every week, Babylon. So I have a bit of a finger on the pulse. But that being said, like, I'm sure the questions are deep fucking cuts. So this is a long way of saying, do not be surprised, kids, if Jericho is a genius, because he really is. It's not because I'm stoned. Some people will be like, he's such a stoner. He fucking, ever since he started smoking weed. Not at all. This has nothing to do with smoking weed. If anything, smoking weed is going to help me remember shit more. If I fail this, it's because I've had my head up my own ass pop culturally for like the last fucking decade. And this will show me, this will serve me right.
Well, let me ask you a question.
That being all said, let me go back to the Justin.
Yeah, please.
What I saw on Live Free or Die Hard was I got there at the tail end of the show. They had been shooting for 4 or 5 months at that point. So when I got cast, they were like, oh, you're going to shoot when they get back to California. So they were shooting out in Baltimore most of the time and other places in the country. So when they came back to California, they set up shop at Universal, even though it was a Fox film. And that's where they built like the Warlock's fucking basement and shit like that. So when I joined the show, they'd been up and running for months. And what I saw, because did I not even know Justin at that point? I don't even think I'd met Justin until Live Free or Die Hard. And, you know, I'd known him from the movies, and I thought he'd been funny in some stuff. And then I remember, like, he was in Accepted, and I was like, when my opinion of his performance in Accepted was, oh, like, he shouldn't be the leading man. He should be the fucking second guy. He should have been the part that Jonah had, because Justin Long he occurs to me as that funny and stuff. So first time I work with him is on Live Free or Die Hard. And he comes into the scene, you know, I said, hey man, how are you? He's like, hey, he's real nice and whatnot. But when he comes into the fucking scene, it was one of the most entertaining things I had ever seen in my entire fucking career. He had a breath of energy to his performance, and I just assumed that was his character, and I didn't know much about the movie other than my scene. And Bruce is playing John McClane and being all, you know, fucking dirty and serious. Dirty meaning like he's got dirt and blood. He says that all the time. He goes like, best way to shoot me, dirt, shadow, blood. He's going to get those three things, dirt, shadow, blood. He loves that. So he's coming in. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's being John McClane. Justin comes in and he's electric. And like, I'm in the scene and I'm not in the scene because I'm just like, this guy's fucking great. So what I see in that first take is that Bruce, whenever he's kind of off camera, is like rolling his eyes, frustrated with Justin, like, which I couldn't believe because I'm like, this guy's giving gold. Then Justin did another take, and it was even better and completely fucking different. He didn't hit any of the material that he had the previous take. It was all germane to the discussion. He wasn't just making up shit that couldn't work for the plot. But he just changed the lines each time he went in. There's a line in the movie, I think he goes, "Is that a young bearded Han Solo I see?" That was fucking Justin just making up shit as he walked into the room and whatnot. So I loved it. I was like, this guy's great. I'd put him in a movie in a fucking heartbeat, and eventually I did. But Bruce, you could tell, like, didn't go for it, like, because Justin kept changing the dialogue. And I did hear him at one point be like, "Can we just do the script, please?" Which was weird because on Cop Out, very first scene, he started with Maury Povich and Connie Chung, which was not in the script, I assure you. So if I remember correctly, and I'm not trying to make waves or create a fight or anything, this is old fucking news.
Yeah.
But Bruce, like, to me, seemed frustrated by Justin's ad-libbing. You might meet some people in the business who would, like, usually that would be, I would assume, a performer who had to work with Justin. Like, if I had to fucking be opposite Justin in a scene, I'd be like, oh, fuck. Because he wins every time. He's just fucking dominates the scene. And I feel like, of course, Bruce is like, this is fucking Die Hard. I'm John McClane. Naturally, he would have to dominate every scene. But, and I don't mean dominate, like I'm going to beat up Justin. It's just an actor thing. But Justin, like, charmingly and effortlessly walks into a scene and just fucking steals it, you know, without even trying. So if I remember correctly, you know, impatient with Justin because Justin was giving it like 100%, if not 110%, which is mathematically impossible. Justin was young in his career and, you know, was there to like, oh my God, we're making a movie. We're making a Die Hard movie. Let's make it great.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other guy was in a different place in his career,
right.
I feel like. So I remember that. And then the next time I had an opportunity, I think it was on Zach and Miri or whatnot, we needed somebody. And I was like, you know who'd be fucking hysterical? Justin Long. Like, I worked with him on this one flick. He was so fucking good. And bam, he came in. And the day he showed up to do Zach and Miri, I couldn't wait. Like, because I was like, he was so fun on Live Free or Die Hard. This would be great. But he showed up to us fucking sick. Like, really sick. Like almost COVID sick. He had deep flu, hardcore chest cold. Deep shit. Just sounded bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, there's no way we're going to be able to pull off the scene. And he's like, I could do it. He's going, my voice is kind of shot. So he's going, thing is, I've been doing research and I've been watching some gay porn. And I was like, yeah, of course, we all do research, man. And he's just like, I noticed that there are some actors that talk way down here. They have a very deep voice. He's going, so my voice is kind of there right now. Would you mind if I did that instead of sounding like me? I'm going to take it all the way down here. And I was like, oh my God, go ahead. So that character, Brandon St. Randy, comes out of his inability to speak any higher than that because he had a fucking nasty chest cold. So even when he was fucking sick, this guy was one of the greatest actors I ever seen in my life, man. He's the absolute fucking truth. Him, Seth Rogen, Ben Affleck, who are the great fucking ad-libbers? Like those three are definitely on my Mount Rushmore of expert ad-libbers. People that like, they'll do your script and then they do 3 better scripts than yours, all within the context of your story. So, you know, it's one thing to get on a set and be like, make the crew laugh and shit like that. If you can't cut it into the movie, it's kind of a waste of time. It's nice for everybody, but it's not useful. Seth, Ben, Justin, these are cats that can ad-lib within your script. So they're ad-libbing and making lines up, but it's all about the story, which is thrilling for the screenwriter and director because it's almost like watching somebody create fan fiction in real time of a story that nobody knows. Like, it's one thing when everybody gets to see the movie and stuff. This is a guy who's only read the script and we're literally creating the movie like as we speak. And still, the dude is making like a funnier version of a sequel to my movie within the confines of my movie that I can then cherry pick and steal lines from and be like, I'm taking that and stuff. Yeah. So I've loved Justin. And then years later, of course, I stuck him in a walrus suit.
Well, that's where. So the first time I actually got, I met you briefly at like Screen Junkies once, but then I interviewed you. Tiffany Smith is a very close friend of mine, as she is yours, obviously. And we sat down at Sundance, and that was the first time, and it was for Yoga Hosers. And I had seen you do the whole. And when we went to the screening for it also, and the speech that you gave there, and I've talked about the speech a couple times on this show. It was so inspiring because what you did there, you basically said, "Look, I'll be honest with you. I just made this movie for me and my friends. Like, I don't get. If people fucking hate,
never tell film Twitter something like that. Their first response is like, "Fuck your play date." Yeah, but I thought it was charming. I was like, "Yeah, I made this for me and my kids."
I thought it was super charming, dude. Because it's like when you used to make the reason you probably got inspired in the first place, making fucking home movies in your backyard. That's what you were doing. It's like I don't give
Clerks. I mean, not even the home movie. Literally, Clerks wasn't me going like, "This will start my career." Same ethos, same like, well, I'm making this with me and my friends, and I don't know if anybody will get it, but we'll sure fucking love it.
Yeah, and that's what. So leading into that, because you did that, and now there's a lot of other things that you've been working on that are still a little more mainstream, obviously, than say Tusk and Yoga Hosers. I just watched Reboot about 2 months ago, and I fucking loved it. I loved it.
Sweet movie,
dude. I loved it. It was so much.
Like it wears its fucking heart on its sleeve and stuff.
It was great.
It's like, there was a time in my career where if somebody didn't like that movie, I would have been like, they're crazy. I could see how somebody wouldn't like it, but like even if they hate it, I'm like, wow, sorry, that's exactly the movie I wanted to make. In fact, it's better than the movie I wanted to make because we didn't even have that Ben scene until like the last week of production.
Oh, that's okay.
So while we were making the movie, we were making an inferior version of the movie that never even had that scene in it or a substitute for that. And Kevin McCarthy talking about us with Ben at a junket, that all coalesced and whatnot. So even while we were making it, I absolutely loved it, but it wasn't as good as what it turned out to be. And, I love the flick from end to end, but you could literally just cut out the Holden McNeil scene. And that to me is indicative of my entire career. It's like one of the finest things I've ever been involved with. He was wonderful. Yeah. Crushed the dialogue. Jay was fucking great. Jay's daughter is wonderful. Joey's great in the scene and stuff. And it's this weird like reunion, like 22 years after the fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved making that movie. And then touring it was even better, man. Like every night I got to watch that movie with 1,000 people or more who that it was made for. Not just like, oh, these people like movies. They were like, no, these people like Kevin Smith movies. Quote every one of them backwards and forwards. So every little drop or reference or Easter egg played like through the fucking roof. It was amazing. And then right at the end of the tour, I was like, this is what we're doing next year. Yeah. Making Clerks 3, I'm making it cheap on my dime, and we're going to tour this movie for a year straight. And then COVID happened.
Yeah. Well,
I'll never be able to do that again.
No, I wanted to hear more about, like, obviously Clerks 3. Mallrats, by my way, someone asked me the other day, my favorite of your movies is Mallrats. Funny story. I mean, it's again, probably it's lame, but it was something for me. I saw you once at the ArcLight with Jay. Now I've had the pleasure of interviewing you guys a couple of different times, but this is when I first kind of got to LA, and you guys were at the ArcLight, and you were together, and you had the iconic jersey on, and you were walking up there, and you guys were at the stand, and I was
Were we just seeing a movie, or were we doing
a movie? You were seeing a movie. You were going, and I at one point you're ready to order something, and in my head I'm like, Mallrats was a movie to me. I can't even tell you how many times I watched it, quote it, tell them Steve Dave is something I used to say to my friends all the time. And I was going to step in, and whatever you guys were going to get, I was just going to buy your food. And I was going to do it. And I was going to walk in. I was going to say that. I was like, "What?" Just for the laughs that I got. And right as I was stoned. And right as I was going to do it, you guys turned and went upstairs. And I guess you went to the wrong theater. And you went upstairs.
Sounds accurate. Sounds on brand.
So I definitely want to hear about Mallrats too. It's also the other thing that Coy Andrew and I kind of bonded over and all that. So I have those questions. And I don't know how much time we have you for, but I do want to ask you. But I also have to show you this. So there's this dude. Have you heard of the Box Office Artist? All right. So this guy is incredible. He's an incredible artist, and he's doing stuff he's going to do like a thing for you and Jericho for your match for Schmodown. But he did this thing for The Rock, but he also sent me this art that he did for you and your history of film. And can you see that?
Oh my God, that's fantastic!
Awesome. Look at that. Look at all.
Holy shit! Look at the talent on display, man.
Yeah. He's
God, fucking. I wish I could draw. If I could draw, I wouldn't do all these terrible movies.
Look at that. So you got. It's like a lot of the great. You got the great Stan Lee in there. So I can get
beautiful.
that. I can get that to you for sure.
Oh, please, man. I'll frame that shit. Put it up on the wall.
Oh,
Jay the other day had a piece of artwork, and he streams from Twitch every week. Well, every damn day, but I stream with him on Wednesdays generally. And he was giving away like some art pieces, like, you know, whoever fucking votes in or whatever, we'll send you this. And it was like stunning piece of artwork that somebody had done for a cardboard for like a Magic the Gathering, like one of these rollout mats, and it was Jay like with 3 heads, and all 3 heads were Silent Bob. That I've seen in the real world, like people like have me sign it and shit. And Jay had the original art, and he was like going to send it to some stranger. I'm like, "Fuck you! I'll put it on my." So I took it home. I would totally put that on my wall.
I'll get that to you for sure. And before we jump into those other things, so the other thing that I am obsessed with is Masters of the Universe. It's something I have personal history.
You, Kristian, never. What? You never talk about Master of the Universe.
No. Well, I have personal history with it. I had it when it was Turner. It was in Turnaround with John Woo. I don't know if you remember that back in the day, dude. He had in the script, Kevin. He had this thing that said that Tila and He-Man were going out to get cheeseburgers. So yeah. So I went and it was in Turnaround, and I approached Susan Downey and this whole thing. We had this whole conversation, and I essentially had gotten it. My buddies had written this spec script for Wonder Woman back in the day, and Jensen and Strickland, and they had written this whole thing. When Mark Riley and I got involved in it, we came up with this treatment. Long story short, Masters of the Universe to me was always like Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings. That was always kind of what it was. And then in 2002, they had that series that popped out. So can you, your show, the animated series on Netflix, it takes place after some of the events of the old school series?
Yes. Now the 2002, you're talking about the Mike Young show?
Yeah, the Cartoon Network one. Yeah.
Which I thought was absolutely wonderful in terms of like, they took all the IP, they created a new story. They turned Skeletor into Adam's uncle, if I remember correctly. Keldor, his name was.
Yep, and why his face went off and stuff.
So all the things they did, I was like, that's fucking pretty dope and stuff. When I got this job, my agent was like, Mattel wants to meet with you. And I said, Mattel, why? And he said, they're not saying, but they want you to go to their office. I said, where are they? And he's like, Santa Monica. I was like, that's fucking far. No way. And then they were like, it is. I mean, for those who don't live out here, Jesus. Yeah. So he said, they'll come to your house. And I said, all right. And he said, you just got to sign an NDA. I said, okay. Sign an NDA. So they come over to my house. There was one guy who had worked at Disney who I had met when I pitched Kingdom Keepers there. And I got that job. And so the dude, he just left and joined Mattel. So Rob David, who runs our division at Mattel, he'd been writing the Masters of the Universe comics at DC for a while and stuff. So not only is he like, a suit, but he's also creative. So that guy at Disney was like, Kevin Smith gave a really fucking fun pitch for Kingdom Keepers. Why don't you hit him up for Masters of the Universe? And Rob was like, he'd never say yes. So they come over and they tell me Masters of the Universe. And I was like, oh, what is it? And I mean, I know what it is, but what in what way? And he's like, we want to do a cartoon. He's like, look, there's a three-pronged approach that we're taking with Masters of the Universe and relaunching the world and stuff. One is a kids show, and it's like a CG kids show, and that's going to be on Netflix. He said the other is a big feature film with what's the kid's name? Noah Centineo, I think.
What's Roxy? Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie is happening. He said, but what we want to do is something for people who love the original show. Yeah. He's going, because the kids show has a lot of the elements, but at the same time, it's very much a kids show, and they're not following the adventures and stuff like that. And he said the movie is, doing what the movie's doing. He said, we want to give the hardcore fans who've loved this for years, like a show that they recognize and go like, that's it. We want to do a sequel series to the classic series. So I was like, oh, all right. Like, give me 1 sec. That could be fun. I was like, I'll be honest with you. I watched Motu when I was a kid, but I didn't collect any of the toys. I was a Star Wars guy. My parents were poor to begin with, so I couldn't do two things. But I'm well aware of the show, well acquainted with the show. So I, watched a few episodes, and there was one episode, very important, very integral. Like the show, if you remember, of course you do, doesn't have a fuck ton of mythology, very episodic. But there was a little mythology, and there was like a storyline that they never quite finished. So that, I was like, oh, let's seize on that and make a whole series about this. So I came up with a story, pitched it to Rob. He was like, fucking love it, man. Let's take it to Netflix. And I was like, it ain't going to get picked up, bro. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, anytime I go to Netflix, I said, I've pitched at Netflix maybe 10 times. Never. They've never picked up anything I've done.
Wow.
And I said, and even weirder is every time I've gone into Netflix to pitch something, I always run into, no bullshit, Ted Sarandos, like who I know from like back in the fucking Miramax days and shit. Like he'd been around for a while. And he's always like, hey man, how are you? And I was like, hey, fucking how are you? And he pitch out for a second. He goes, what are you bringing in? I said, oh, this thing. He goes, well, I hope they pick it up, man. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And I always feel good because I'm like, hey, if that guy says hi, I got to be in a good place. And every time it never happens, never gets picked up and shit. So much so that last time I went in there, like I remember going, I was there with a hockey movie, the John Scott hockey movie with Mitch Albom and Mike Tolan. So we went in to pitch this hockey picture that's based on real life story about John Scott. So as we're in the lobby, and they got this big off lobby with video walls that show movies and shit, and suddenly you're in the Crown, suddenly you're in the Upside Down. It's huge and it's packed. Like at least this was before COVID.
Yeah.
So it looks like a New York subway, just full of fucking people. So we're standing there, we check in, and then they tell you like someone will come down and pick you up. As we're standing there, they're like, how do you feel? Do you feel nervous? And I was like, no, I don't feel nervous, man. I said, I'll feel nervous if we run into Ted Sarandos, though. And they go, why? I said, every time I come pitch here, man, I run into Ted. And I always think it's going to be a good thing. But it fucking, and then all of a sudden I hear, Kevin! And I fucking turn around and it's Ted Sarandos. And I'm like, hey, man, how are you? And we chit-chat. And he's like, what are you here with? I was like, a hockey movie with these guys. Like, I hope they get it, man. Maybe I'll see you upstairs. And he left, and I told the guys, I was like, we can go home right now. And he was like, why? And I was like, that's usually the kiss of death for me. They don't pick up anything. So they told me we're going into Netflix, and I figured I'm going to go pitch He-Man, and I said, or Masters of the Universe. And I said, well, kids, that's where this falls apart because they're never going to say yes because they don't take anything from me. And then I heard the magic fucking words, and they were like, oh, this is already a Go series. This is put. We're not pitching this. Netflix picked this up. And I was elated because I was like, oh, shit, this is real. Like, I get approached by a lot of people who are like, hey, let's go in and pitch this thing. And, they all seem to think because I've made things that I can get things made. And I tell all of them, I was like, you want to get this made? You should really become friends with J.J. Abrams. They make all of his shit. Like, introduce themselves to Jordan Peele. They make all of his shit. But Kevin Smith shit, the only reason you think that they make Kevin Smith is because I make Kevin Smith shit. Like, nobody else wants to and stuff. So it's an illusion of a career. Not so much like something you can count on. They're like, oh, Kevin. And never happens. Like, AMC, when I had the Comic Book Men show, I didn't pitch that to AMC. That just fucking happened accidentally, and we backed into a TV show. If I had went in and said, here it is, it's called Comic Book Men, nobody would have bought it. I can't pitch for shit. When I did that Kingdom Keepers pitch, like I said to them, I went into the room, it was right before my heart attack. I said, kids, there was like 12 Disney execs. I was like, kids, with all due respect, I'm like 47. I've been in this business for like fucking almost 25 years. I was like, I don't like pitching. I'm sure you guys hate hearing pitches, but I wrote the whole fucking outline down. So what I'm going to do is I brought my laptop. I'm going to read the pitch right off this, and I will look up at you from time to time if you feel we need to connect. But that'll be the shortest distance to 2 points. And they're like, fucking go, So I don't take shit very seriously because nobody ever does shit that I want to do. Yeah. But if I go in on somebody else's shit, that's generally when things happen. Comic Book Men was somebody else's thing that they were like, they want you to come in and talk about it. And I haphazardly was like, you should do a show set in a comic book store, never thinking about my own. So that accidentally fucking happened. Masters of the Universe, it was a done deal. They were making a series with or without me. By some fucking miracle, the guy who was at Disney who went to Mattel said to Rob David, you should check with Kevin Smith. And that's how the ball started rolling. So when they said that, I was like, I don't give a shit what it takes. I'm riding this project until the very end because that's my back door into Netflix. That's the only way that I'm getting into Netflix, man. So we met with Ted, who's our boss at Netflix, Ted Baselli. If you get a chance to work with anybody at Netflix, work with this man. I've been in this business, 27 years at this point. Most creative motherfucker I ever met on the other side of a desk. Don't belong on the other side of a desk. Belongs on this side making shit up, man. He only creative exec came to my house and sat there on the floor on his knees pitching ideas like a fucking little kid. And he was the key. Rob, as much as Rob loved Motu and whatnot, he was like, wait till you meet Teddy. This is Teddy's religion. And Teddy told me, he's like, look, I love Batman. I love Spider-Man. I love Star Wars growing up, all that. He's got toys galore. He's going, but my religion was Motu, was Master of the Universe. He's going, I believed every episode that fucking He-Man was about to get killed by Skeletor. I thought there were stakes. I was terrified. And he's going, and that's all I ask that you do with this. He said, I know that the instinct is going to be to make fun of it, make jokes, winking asides. He said, just don't. He said, treat it like Shakespeare. He's going, I know it's ridiculous IP, but it's rich IP, a world full of characters. And he's going, if you could just treat it the way I saw it when I was a kid, I think we'd have something. And I said, I recognize what you're saying because I used to watch Batman 66 and every episode I was like, fuck, they're going to die. So I know what it means to buy in and shit. Those marching orders made it beautiful, man, because suddenly like we had two pillars that we sat between, two mountains, and we were in this valley. Here's Rob and here's Ted. And so both of them are massive fans of the franchise we're working on. Both of them wouldn't let us fail. Like, there was no moment, thank God I never turned in a script where they're like, fuck you. But I would turn in scripts that were like, this is awesome. Add this character to it. And I'm like, fucking well done. Fantastic. So what a great creative experience. And if you love the Filmation show, I fucking promise you, you will adore this. I've got 7 animatics right on this damn laptop that I watch incessantly all the time. They're so well done. Sometimes I wake up in the morning. This is not a judgment on anybody else's entertainment, but I'll sift through fucking Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and be like, you know what? I would rather just watch those animatics, and I will fucking watch them again. They are some of the most human fucking pieces of drama I've ever been lucky enough to be associated with, and it has a green fucking tiger in it. Like, it's amazing. And all the credit goes to Dia, Eric, Tim, and Mark, my fellow writers. Powerhouse Animation is crushing it with the animation. All the characters look exactly like you know them and stuff. Like, they told me they're doing figures based on our storyline, which is called Masters of the Universe Revelations. And I was like, why? Our figures look, our designs look like the original designs. So, but they're like, yeah, but this is going to be the Powerhouse style and stuff. It's a faithful adaptation. Like the same way that I go into Marvel movies and I sit there and go like, all right, it's all good. Yeah, they have to change this or this, but like, this feels like the book to me. This feels like I felt when I was reading this shit when I was a kid. That's how Motu plays, man. So some people online have been like, well, does that mean nobody but old people are going to get into it? Not at all. I think it's user-friendly as fuck. I think if you're a kid, you'd love it. But if you grew up watching that shit, get ready to cry every fucking episode. You'll cry out of joy that like, holy fuck, they did it. You'll cry out of like pathos and emotion because there are stakes. Characters die in this. But we don't willy-nilly just kill them and shit. All inherent and germane to the story we're telling. And the original story, which they were like, you can't call it that because they were like, it's not a great marketing title. The original story was End of the Universe. So it should tell you how big the fucking thing is, man. I love it so much. The only downside is that people got to wait like about a year before they get to see it too, man. But oh my God, I fucking love it. You will absolutely love it.
And wait, is it the same music? The theme?
No, but we got somebody, the guy who's doing the music, who they haven't announced yet, is an absolute fucking genius. And when you hear it, you'll be like, holy shit. Like, based on the cast list we got, and that cast list, to be fair, I saw some tweet somewhere where people were like, you shouldn't have spent so much money on the fucking cast, spend it on the animation. We didn't spend that much money on the cast. Everyone did it for scale, which I was so impressed by.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know, normally they're like, you could get non-union voice talent because they make the cartoons overseas and shit like that. Some cartoons don't have anybody doing they have people doing the voices, but not known people and shit like that. Teddy was like, I want famous people because this is mine. This is Motu, and I love Motu, and they deserve real actors and shit. And not that the other actors aren't real actors, but real well-known actors. Like, he wants to dress it up as best he can. So in the beginning, we were like, well, what kind of names you talk about? Who the fuck's going to want to do this and shit, particularly at scale? And we got a fucking killer cast, man. All of them worked for scale because all of them were just like, I love this. Like, Mark was like, I was done doing animation voiceover. He's going, but then all of a sudden you guys call with Skeletor, and he's like, how the fuck am I supposed to pass up Skeletor? And so, you know, it shows you the affection for the medium, for the material itself, for the property of Motu, that so many people jumped on board. Lena Headey was just like, you know, when we were recording with her, I was like, you know this? You know Motu? And she was like, I was a child once too, Kevin. You know, so like, it's made with absolute affection and reverence for the material. Honestly, of anything I've done in my entire career, it is one of the fucking like 5 proudest things that I could stand next to and be like, I'm associated with this.
Well, it definitely sounds like you're in good with Netflix now, but before that, I'm not sure that you have the answer to this, but I'm sure you thought about it, Kevin. Why are they turning down so many of your projects? Why are people not picking it up? You're a massive star. You've made so many incredible, successful movies. Why aren't they giving you the green light?
You're incredibly sweet, but I don't think I am a massive star. I'm something of a known quantity, and as much as I've been around long enough where, you know, like fucking herpes, you just know, oh yeah, I've got Kevin Smith. I've had it for years and shit. So I'm not somebody who walks into a room and somebody goes, the future. You know, I walk into a room and somebody goes, the comfortable past. Everything that I work on, if you look at it, I thought about this over the course of the last year, and it don't bother me at all and shit. It's just where I am in the world, and I'm happy to be working at all. But everything I do is predicated on the past, not really the future, man. Like, think about it. Moose Jaws, movie I'm trying to make, predicated on Jaws, old movie. Jay and Silent Bob reboot, based on, you know, sequel to an old fucking movie. Masters of the Universe, old property. Green Hornet, old property. Comic Book Men, you know, which was like the newest thing I'd done in years, you know, back in the day for AMC, was also fucking predicated on the past. That was a show where it was like, remember this toy you played with when you were 9 and now you're 50? So everything I do is past predicated. And I found when I go out into the world to try to get jobs, they are not interested in my bullshit, but they are interested in me coming in on their bullshit or on things that, like, they want to match me up with. So the Kevin Smith world and View Askew universe and shit like that, that's for a very small pool, and nobody in the world is like, fuck, man, let's throw money at that pool. Well, I mean, Universal did. Like, when we did Jay and Silent Bob reboot, they came in and took half the world and stuff, and that led them to be like, ooh, let's do Mallrats. But generally, but once again, that's all past shit. The Mallrats, Twilight of the Mallrats, which I'm getting ready to do, God willing, in the first half of 2021, if COVID clears up a bit, is predicated on a fucking 1995 movie and stuff. So I get it. Like, when I swear to you, when I walked into a room to pitch the Mallrats TV series last, a few years ago, before the heart attack, every room I came into, people were like, oh my God, I fucking love Mallrats. And, you know, they'll talk about your whole career and shit like that. And then you get into the pitch and they go into the Zen mask, and, you know, you suddenly feel like everything slide out of the room where it's like, oh, they like the old thing. They don't want the new thing. Which, you know, I remember going to Netflix being like, if they did Wet Hot American Summer, there's no way they won't do Mallrats as a series. But
right.
There was a way, and they said no. Showtime said no. Hulu said no. And that's when I got frustrated, and I was like, you know, I don't want to play with my old toys anymore and stuff. And then it became Jay and Silent Bob reboot instead, because I own that. Mallrats owned by Universal. Clerks, Chasing Amy, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, owned by whoever owns Miramax now. But Jay and Silent Bob, me and Jay personally own. So suddenly I was like, fuck beating my head against a wall, going out there looking for money or trying to get permission from Universal to make Mallrats. Let's just go make a Jay and Silent Bob movie. We own that shit. So I'm not like, I look around at entertainment now and like, I get like a scared little old man and shit. Like one of my favorite shows to watch is I May Destroy You. And I thrill to it every fucking week. And as I watch it, as I thrill, there's something in the back of my head going, you're finished. Like this is the fucking present and this is the future. This is what passion looks like now. This is what you looked like in 1994. And even then you didn't look this fucking good. This is way ahead of its time and shit like that. A lot of shit when I surf through Netflix, I'm like, Jesus, I would never think to do something like that. Like, I just feel like old, and not in a bad way. And this isn't me saying, cry for me, Argentina and shit. I work all the time, but I'm not what people think about when they think about new. So I've figured, like, even when I had Howard the Duck for a minute, when before it went away at Hulu, also an old thing. So I don't like, I don't, and to be fair, I don't have anything new to offer anybody, really. Like, even like somebody asked me the other day, like, could you do a Tusk sequel? I said, yeah, I've thought about it and shit. That's predicated on the past too. Tusk and Yoga Hosers were very new and incredibly original. And, I kind of got spanked big time on the second one. Tusk found its fans, but fucking Yoga Hosers, people were like, you're fucking finished, you fool. Like, this is what you think fucking counts? Next time you went back to a fucking convenience store, you made this instead of Clerks, fuck you. So I get it. Like, for people who are like, I'm going to put down millions of bucks, maybe I'm not your guy anymore. But if you're like, I'm going to put down millions of bucks on this old thing that, he's got enough fucking shine on his name that if I put these two things together, it might create a buzz. Putting me, I mean, look, I'm with you. If I was running a studio, I'd be like, fucking hire Kevin Smith. He's got the biggest mouth in the world. Free marketing fucking galore and shit like that. He never asks for any money. Like he's looking for fucking $5 million for Mallrats. So fucking take a chance on him. But they don't see it that way. So I'm with you. I wish they'd fucking be like, oh my God, give him the peanuts he's asking for. We're going to clear. Like, this is up here. I don't know how much I should say this. All right, we make Jay and Silent Bob reboot. And when we were trying to make it, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, it's a great script, but, we'll see how it goes and shit. Lionsgate got home video on the whole affair and stuff because Saban did domestic and their output deal was with for home videos with Lionsgate. So Lionsgate came back to us last month and they were like, do you know how well that fucking reboot movie did? You got another one of those? We'll make it right now. And I was like, holy shit. So, once you get in there, you can show people you still got value and shit. But I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean this to be like, I'm not, being dismissive, but I had to learn a long time ago that if I wanted to stay in this business, that I was responsible for staying in this business. They weren't going to keep me in this business. You got to realize that my career was done after movie 2. Everyone likes Mallrats now, but when it came out, fuck, man, go read the reviews. And the box office was we spent $5 million making it. The movie only made $2 million. Yeah. So right away, I was kicked out of the movie. It was my sophomore slump. That was it. Nobody was fucking looking to finance anything I did. I'd been talking to Miramax about making Chasing Amy for $3 million. $3 million. That went out the fucking door. So what I learned early on was pivot. Look, you want to do something. Don't be some spoiled fucking baby that's like, well, I need all this money to do it. You made fucking Clerks, you bitch, for $28 grand, $27,575. So if you have to, and you want to make this thing so badly, fucking pivot. Don't wait to be creative until somebody's like, here's a bunch of money and shit. Find a cheaper way to do the thing. Yeah. So anytime somebody's been like, nah, I'm not interested, I can find a way to still make it happen. So I love that the perception out there is that hey, man, you've been around for a while. You can get anything made. But perception is not reality. I'm in the Kevin Smith business. It still requires hustle, man. There was a part of there's definitely some fringe benefits in terms of if you're around for a while, people tend. I don't get beat up as much online anymore because they're like, he's over and he knows it, and they move on to current targets and shit like that. But when you're around for a long time, you've outlived that period where people are like, fuck him, he's useless. Suddenly now people are like, oh, he's all right. You know, there was a 10-year stretch there where I was like, boy, I want to be in this business more than anybody else wants me to be in this business. But just because, you know, they're not rolling out the red carpet for you, it doesn't mean you can't play. That's how I got in this fucking thing in the first place. Like, if I was waiting for somebody to be like, I walked into this convenience store and you look like you could tell a fucking story, we wouldn't be having this conversation, man. I'd be in the audience watching you guys and stuff. So I learned early on, like, do it yourself, DIY, you know, and not because, like, fuck them, they don't understand my vision. They understand it just fine. They just don't want to put any money into it. But just because they don't want to help you don't mean you can't do a thing, man. Just because other people are like, that was the appeal of the movie business. I just loved watching movies. Then when I saw Richard Linklater's Slacker, somebody showed me the code like Neo, where I could see the zeros and ones. And I'm like, holy fuck, you could do a thing like this? Like a human being could just do a fucking thing? I'm going to try that fucking thing. And I got lucky because, you know, I don't have a grand vision at all and shit like that. That's why nobody ever goes, hey, you want to make a Marvel movie? So, like, you know, my vision was like, I just want to make this cheap movie in a convenience store just because I want to see what it looked like and whatnot. Being able to do that, thankfully, that was how I started. I can always pivot back to cheap. Like, at the end of the day, if people are like, there's no more money for you and your little fucking friend, fuck off, Silent Bill. I can just pay for it myself, which is what I did on Reboot. I put some of my own money into Reboot. We had movie money from Saban, money from Universal, but then we also had equity financing. And at one point, the women that produced the movie, I always want to say girls, but I don't want to sound dismissive, but the women, and that sounds so grown up.
You're good.
Jordan and Liz and Tracy, who without them, I couldn't have made that fucking flip. You know, they were talking about, like, we had an investor and suddenly he dropped out. And, you know, this was going back a few years. So they were like, okay, we got to put the project on hold so we can go out and find more money. And I said, I can't do that. And not because I'm impatient. I just almost fucking died. There is no tomorrow, man. So, like, we got to make this happen. And what is the idea? The idea is I'm going to go glad hand with people and try to get $1 million fucking bucks. I said, guess what? I live in this big ass house. I've been paying it off for fucking years. I hear people make second mortgage loans all the fucking time. Why don't I try to put my house up, get some fucking money to put into this? Because I believe in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And I know I'm going to tour this movie. So, and a part of the reason you tour is to pay back the equity investors. So I was like, I'll be doubly incentivized to pay myself back. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'll be at every fucking tour date because that's how I get my money back. So I've always been willing to, like, if I can't, if nobody wants to give me money for it, don't matter. I'll find the money, or I'll do it myself, or I'll pay for it myself, or I'll shrink the budget next to nothing. And sometimes people get like pissy about it. Like, I guess I got a reputation for doing it and shit. Like, I remember I had a conversation with Joey Adams once. Joey Adams wanted to make this movie, which I think she probably still does. And it was like $15 million, but it was very much like, you know, a relationship movie and stuff. And she made a beautiful first film called Come Early Morning, which is a fucking relationship movie as well. Incredible. One of the best first films I've ever seen. So here she wants to make another relationship drama type film, but it's $15 million. And she says she was having a hard time. This is going back literally 5 years. She says she was having a hard time finding a loop. And so I said, well, you know what to do, man. Just drop the price down. Just dump it in the toilet. Make that movie for like $250,000, like Chasing Amy style. And Joey goes, oh my God, Kevin, that is your explanation for everything. That's how you solve every problem. You're like, just make it cheaper. And I was like, yeah, that's what we did on Chasing Amy. And you got a Golden Globe nomination because we dropped that budget in the toilet. You always have to decide, like, does it have to be this fucking perfect thing, or does it just have to be a thing? And since I'm not Chris Nolan, thank God, because he's a genius, I started, you know, making movies accidentally. He was born to be a filmmaker. He's a visionary and shit like that. I would imagine it would be exhausting to be Chris Nolan because you do have to come up with something new all the time and shit. But for somebody like me, I got as far as I've gotten in life in my career simply by 2 fucking words. That's it. 2 words are the magic words that fucking got me where I am today. Good enough. Good enough will get you very far. Clerks is a good enough movie. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's good enough. It's in focus. I see 2 people talking to each other. Fucking good enough. If you try to make a perfect film, then you're Chris Nolan.
Right.
And I'm not Chris Nolan, as I've said. Like, fuck, it'd be nice to be, but I don't have that. Like, film runs through every fucking pore and fiber in his being and shit. So much so, that a guy like that is like, you've got to see my movie in a real movie theater and shit. I don't even believe that. I'm like, you can watch my movie on a fucking Apple Watch as far as I get the fuck. I just want you to see the fucking thing. And that's not a popular thing to say as a filmmaker. And it's the kind of thing that makes people go, well, he's not a real filmmaker. But I watch most of my media right here on my phone. So if I can do it, I assume other people. I can't judge other people for like, watching my movie on a fucking small device. I watch all my shit on a small device. But good enough, that's the key to a long career. Not a great one, but like a long career is you can't waste time trying for perfection. I'll never get cinematic perfection because I wasn't born to be a filmmaker. I'm an outlier. I'm a carpetbagger. I'm somebody who's like, that looks fucking fun. Let me try it and shit. So I always talk about like filmmaking for me is like, as if I had taken 4 years of Spanish in high school and then tried to pass in Barcelona as a native. Like I've rudimentary, like, fucking the yo hablo, fucking Espanol or whatever the fuck. I could do very basics, just like in film, I could do very basics. The good news about film is you can be basic. For years they were basic before, motherfuckers got clever and started doing shit with cameras and whatnot. And some of my favorite movies are basic. I woke up 4 a.m. I watched Valley Girl, like, again, 1983's Valley Girl, one of my favorite movies of all time, a movie that, like, taught me about love, how to be an interesting boyfriend and shit like that, how to, like, not give a fuck what your friends think and fucking how you dress, which obviously fucking impacted me my whole life, particularly. So as I'm sitting there, like, watching that movie, Martha Coolidge did an amazing job. Martha Coolidge made, like, this. She made fucking Real Genius, which is an amazing movie. She made Ramblin' Rose and whatnot. But here she's making Valley Girl back in 1983, and it's shot very simply. Frederick Elms is your DP, did a beautiful job, but like they ain't whipping that fucking camera around or doing any of the POV shit. Very straightforward, very simple. There's always room for straightforward, simple storytelling. You don't want to see that when you go see a Marvel movie, but like based on whatever the story is, you can tailor that shit down, particularly the stories I tell, which are just people talking to each other. Tailor that down, get less money, and then wind up getting a thing made. And I'd rather make a thing cheaper than never make the thing. That haunts you. Then it lives in you forever where you're like, what if we had done it? What if we had done it? And it haunts you even worse when you can do it. Like, it's one thing if you're somebody who's like never made a film or never had a film picked up or whatever the fuck, and you're like, man, I want to make a movie and shit like that. It's another thing when you've made movies and then you want to make a movie and you have an idea for it and it's not expensive and it's not going to change the world, but it's a doable movie, and then you don't let it happen. You know what I'm saying? That's why I couldn't let Yoga Hosers go. I'm like, I know I can make this movie. I know it's probably not the smart idea. I know probably nobody's going to like it but me. But if I don't make the movie for the rest of my life, I'll be like, you should have fucking made Yoga Hosers, man. Like, it would haunt me like a ghost. So rather exercise that shit, get it out there, good or bad.
Good enough.
For the best. Good enough.
Well, there you go. Well, Kevin, the other thing is, what if you, and please tell me when, because this, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. So whenever you got to go, please just let me know. And
it's all good. This is like therapy.
All right, good. So what about combining old with new? And what I mean by that is you every single time. I mean, like, so my two things, you were going back, talking before about, Ted, is that what you said for who?
Yeah, from Netflix.
So, I mean, when you described him, I can't explain to you when it comes to, again, with Masters, how I've been looking for something for so long. So when you're telling me that this dude is sitting on the floor doing this, it gets me so inspired in general. But I also, my other thing is, like, as you said, I'm a Star Wars guy. That was my thing. That's when you and I were supposed to start talking. John Schnepp, the late, great John Schnepp, was trying to get us together for Jedi Council forever,
Big Sweaty, man. Our big Sweaty. We miss him.
Best. He was the best. And
I honestly think about from time, I'm sorry to interrupt and you ripped out the finish, but I think about from time to time, Schnepp had a series of those movies that he was going to make. And like, that is one, I mean, granted I'm in the movie, so I like it, but take me out of that movie. That's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. And I saw, like, still to this day, the tweet that I'll never forget about John's death was somebody said, and they wrote it to me specifically, and it impacted, and I still think about it, and it still fucking makes me moist. They said Schnepp was the only motherfucker in the world who was ever going to make that documentary about your experience. And I was like, they're absolutely right. Like, nobody in this world gave a fuck about some old ass Superman story except John Schnepp, who was like, I think that'd be interesting, and turned it into an amazing documentary. and he had so many more to tell. You know,
he was gonna do. There was gonna be a TV series at one point too, and I'll tell you, and I know that you knew this anyway too, but because he was, a very close friend of mine, and he was so great in the Schmodown. He wanted to become we do heels and faces, old school wrestling. He wanted to become a heel bad guy so bad. We had a whole angle. Yep, he was going to take over this whole thing. But and again, I know you knew this, but he thought the fucking world of you, because I remember when we were talking.
Sweet.
Yeah, back in the day when we were talking about having you in Schmodown, he's like, dude, Kevin would fucking kill at this, and it was great. But anyway,
I'll never forget when he came to do the interview for the Superman movie. I was like, you got to be on camera with me. He's like, what? And I was like, if I'm doing it, you got to be on camera. I'll tell you the story. So we're in the frame together, and as you know, he was like Hodor tall. He's fucking massive, and he made me feel very small.
He was the best. I loved him. I loved him dearly. Anyway, so but I bring that up because he and I would talk about Star Wars often, and anytime that I would see one of these new movies coming out, whether it was the Force Awakens or Rogue One, you had a chance to check it out. You had a chance to you knew about it, and you kind of got your endorsement out there of the movies and kind of how you geeked out about it with like JJ and. So my question is, you're pretty tight with Star Wars, and you're pretty tight in there. And Mandalorian to me is the best thing that we have gotten since Jedi. That's my
Fuck
yeah. And it's that feel when you and I were growing up.
Do you know what would fuck Mandalorian up though?
What's that?
Kevin Smith jumps in.
I don't know, but is that true though? But what if they have an episode? You look at what they've done with all these different directors and what they've done.
Right.
Like I could put his own spin to it, and to me, that's what fucking classic Star Wars was. It was different directors. Whether or not you believe Marquand directed the Jedi or not, that's up to you. But the point is that there were different directors telling the same story inside of it, and that's why I say combine with the new with the old, because it's an old IP like Star Wars, but it's new timelines, it's new stories, it's new shit that we hadn't seen yet. So you would never want to get involved with Mandalorian because you're afraid you fuck it up?
Here, if they were like, we want you to be in the Mandalorian,
yeah,
fucking heartbeat. I'd kill all of you to be in the Mandalorian. But if they called to be like, would you like to direct a Mandalorian? I wouldn't react as fast. I would literally talk it over with everybody I know.
Yeah.
Because I love that show. And, there are many things that I've loved over the course of my career that because of my career, I've been able to gravitate toward. For example, I love Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. When they made Degrassi The Next Generation, I got to gravitate toward it and be in it. I fucking, in season 2, started watching The Flash and fell in love with it, man. I watched the season 1 season finale and shot a video of me watching it because Jason Mewes was like, "You're gonna watch the season finale?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You better." He goes, "Shoot yourself watching it." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because you're gonna cry, and it's lovely when you cry." So I watched it, and I did fucking bawl, and I fell in love with it. And I wound up directing some episodes of Flash and directing some episodes of Supergirl. Now, what I learned while I did 4 episodes of Supergirl. I look this way because I've got pictures hanging on the wall that tell me this. 4 episodes of Supergirl, 3 episodes of Flash. And I loved them each and every time. It was so fucking fun. Those episodes shoot, 8 days with a 9th swing day.
Yeah.
So in 8 days, you've shot most of the episode, if not all, and they leave a 9th swing day, which they always inevitably need for effect shots. So that's where you put Melissa up on the green screen and hoist her up and stuff like that. That's the 9th day of your show. It's timed so that on your 9th day, they're starting day 1 of the next episode and stuff. It's an assembly line. So it's only 9 days that you're involved. And when I got there, I was like, look at this motherfucker in the suit. It looks amazing. He's fucking Flash. This is great. I love this show. I love being here. I love being around the energy, not just the actors, but the crew. They're all fucking Canadians, and I love Canadians. So we were in Vancouver and shit. Everyone's gossipy, but not in a shitty way, just about other movies that have come through. So you could be like, you worked on fucking X-Men 2, and they'll tell you shit and whatnot. This is fun for a person that loves that country. But inevitably, each and every time, even the first time I did it, by day 6 or 7, I go, we're not fucking done yet? We're still shooting this thing? Right. Fucking... let's hurry up. I don't really have like patience. I also don't have vision. Like, fucking look at what Taika did with that fucking IG-11 sequence.
Yeah, right.
Like, Yoda shit. That's beautiful, man. Like, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. That's visionary. I don't have visions like that. Even now, I've seen the show. Like, it's not like, ooh, you know what they should do? I don't have any ideas. And just because I love a thing, don't mean that I should necessarily be involved in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love Star Wars, but they've been doing quite well without me for many, many years. I love them Marvel movies, but I'll be damned if I'll be anywhere near the one that fucking goes bad because I did it. But to be fair, no one's asking me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember Kevin Feige called me up after the heart attack. It was after I had a heart attack. I was driving on Mulholland Drive, and I got a phone call. I didn't recognize it. Said, hello. They said, hold for Kevin Feige. And I was like, oh, shit. I said, hey, man, how are you? And he goes, I just wanted to tell you, as a fellow Kevin from New Jersey who wanted to be in the movie business, Clerks meant the world to me. And when I heard that you had a heart attack, it really affected me. We need you in this business and stuff. And I'm glad to hear you're alive. I was like, you fucking rock. Thanks, Kev. And in the back of my mind, I was like, here it comes. Here it comes. He's going to ask me to direct a Marvel movie, and I get to decline. And he goes, okay, bye. And that was it. So they don't call me for that sort of thing. I saw Fabs at the premiere for Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. And I had seen Mandalorian yet because we were off touring and shit, but of course I knew about it and familiar. I was dumb enough to be like, hey man, this Baby Yoda, who came up with that shit? And he goes, I did. And I was like, you? And he goes, yeah, I wrote the thing. And I was like, you wrote it all? And he goes, yeah, I'm a writer. And I didn't know and shit. And I was when I saw the show, I was like, oh fuck, man, like that's wonderful shit. So he gave me like a Mando coin and shit like that, but it's never once occurred to me to be like, ooh, can I do one? Even when I saw like Robert Rodriguez directed one, I don't know if they announced that, right?
Yeah, they did. They announced it.
Thank God, I don't get anybody in trouble. But there's somebody working on the shows, not as a director, but on the crew, very high up. I know somebody who's shooting one of the episodes or two of the episodes, and I know that person incredibly fucking well. And that person was just like, they're fun, dude. They're fun. You want to do one? You want me like? I'll talk to them because fucking they talk about you all the time and shit. And I was like, no, and not because I'm like I'm better than that. I'm not. That's the point. Like I'm 50 years old. I've been in this business 27 years. I'm more than comfortable to tell you what my limitations are. Believe me, the audiences and critics have told me what my limitations are for years, and they're embedded in my fucking mind. Right. So I'm not the guy you need making the Mandalorian. But if they were like, we need somebody to fucking be in a stormtrooper outfit and punch fucking Baby Yoda in the back. Believe me, when I saw Sudeikis and what's my man's name? The other guy, who was the other guy?
Bill Burke.
No, not Bill.
Well, Burr was in it, but who was it? I love him.
Yep, yeah, he's from
the
Mindy show. Yeah, shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't.
Fellow Jersey guy, if I remember correctly. But when I saw that, I was like, I saw on Twitter a lot of people were like, you could have directed that episode, and I'm like. No, I could have been in that episode. I would have loved to have been the fucking stormtrooper that punches the fucking bag and shit like that and then gets killed by IG-11. That shit was genius. But I never think about that. Like second time Kevin Feige ever called me was even weirder than the first because like I thought like in the first one, I never thought he was going to offer me a job. But toward the end of the call, after he said nice things, I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm going to get offered a job. Second call, I literally thought I was going to be offered a job. He called up to tell me about the Captain Marvel Stan Lee cameo. I was just about to get on a plane, and they were like, I saw the phone rang and didn't recognize it. It was an 818 number or some such shit, but I didn't recognize it. And so, hello, and they said, we'll hold for Kevin Feige. I was like, oh, fuck. And so he goes, Kev, it's Kev. I said, how are you, man? And it was right after Stan had passed away. So the first thing he said, and I thought that's why he called, he goes, I just want to tell you that I read your I watched your show. We did a Fat Man Beyond episode, me and Mark. It was like a eulogy for Stan Lee. Mark described it thusly. He goes, it's a Viking funeral for a Jewish legend. And so we did it at the canteen. It was fucking great. Everyone crying, fucking hours long and shit, just telling Stan stories. So he was like, I watched it. It's beautiful. Thank you for doing it. I said, hey, man, I saw your Instagram post. That moved me to tears. Thank you for doing it and shit. Like, we both love the old man, obviously.
Yeah.
So I said, what's up? And he goes, well, it's something I got to talk to you about, Stan. We're having a little issue. And he said, in order to tell you about this, I'm going to have to spoil a little bit of the Captain Marvel movie. And I was like, well, fucking spoil away, man. And he goes, okay. He goes, we've done Stan's final 2 cameos. They're both in the can. We did the Avengers Endgame one last year. He's going, turned out great. So the one we shot for Captain Marvel, we shot right before Stan passed away. So I think they shot it in April and Stan passed away a couple months later. Whatever it was a month afterwards that Stan passed away. And so they were like, Kevin said he wasn't looking his strongest. He didn't sound his strongest. He said, you'd heard stories, you'd seen him before he died. So he's gone, the scene, in order to tell you what I need, I'm going to tell you about the scene. Stan's cameo in Captain Marvel. I said, okay. And he goes, the Skrull is chasing Captain Marvel on a train. I said, the fucking Skrull! And he goes, don't tell anybody, but yes. And I was like, holy shit. And he goes, they get onto the train, and Captain Marvel's looking for the Skrull, and you hear a guy saying the same thing over and over again. And then we come upon Stan, and he's holding the script for Mallrats, and he's rehearsing his lines, because this movie takes place in 1995, Mallrats in 95. So I'm like fucking elated, because he even said, he's like, your name is on the script. And I was like, what? And he's like, he's saying, trust me, true believer. And that's a line. Well, it's one of Stan's things he always said, but it was also a line in Mallrats. So I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And he's going, but the problem is, since Stan wasn't at his strongest, he needs a little help in the scene. So at this moment in time, my brain starts processing this information and goes, he is about to ask you to be in this cameo with Stan on the train, sitting across from him. You're going to be in fucking Captain Marvel. So I was like, yeah. Then he goes, Stan's voice in the movie, he's doing a line from Mallrats. And we took the line from the DVD because the one he did in real life couldn't even hear him. He's gone, so what we realized is it works. And I'm thinking, since I know Stan was not a one-take wonder, he's going, do you remember having any alternate takes, off-camera shit of Stan talking so that we could use it for him rehearsing his line? And so that's when I realized, oh, he's not asking me to be Captain Marvel. He's asking me if we've got some Stan voiceover that lend to the movie. And I was like, I wish I could help you. I said, Universal owns all that. However, we did a 10th anniversary DVD 10 years ago, so they might have the elements, ready and stuff. And he's going, would you allow us to use it? I said, oh my God, of course, absolutely.
That's cool.
So I don't know what they ever wound up doing, but it once again was not a call, to come to work. We need you, man.
Third time's the charm. Third time's the charm.
They love me. Yeah, right. I think they love me in my new capacity for them as the guy who talks about their shit. Because, I've always been talking about other people's shit for fucking years and whatnot. And I think they like me doing that because I tend to be, I only talk about shit that I like.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I don't like shit. There's a lot of shit I don't like, but why would I tell you about it? I'm just going to spend my time telling you about the shit I like. So generally speaking, they like me because I like their movies. Fucking Disney must love my ass because I fucking blow Star Wars all the time. I'm always blowing Marvel. But they don't love me enough to be like, you should come make one of these. They're like, you just keep talking about these. That's what you're good for and stuff. So I know my place in the business pretty well and shit. And maybe when I die one day, if I get to heaven or fucking hell, and they open up the book of truths and they reveal that, if you had just applied yourself 5% more, you would have been like fucking JJ and Quentin. I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? All right. But at least that was Kevin Smith. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything. There's never me sitting outside the business with my nose against the glass going, why not me? Whenever I don't get invited to stuff, and I don't get invited very often, I'm just busy doing my shit over here and whatnot. And nobody invited me into this business to make big movies. I got in the back door making fucking Clerks and stuff.
But Kevin, what I don't ask you though, dude, is the fact that so you've been, and I hope, because you are, you're just, you're a humble dude. I mean, you really are. And like, I know you fuck around and say you're not, but you are.
It's not humility. It's just like I live as Kevin Smith, so I know the limits of my.
But the reason I bring that up.
Stuff.
But the reason I bring that up is because the other thing that you did that I don't think you give yourself enough credit for is the fact that like radio was the fucking thing, Stern was the thing, right? And then even Corolla transitioned into from that to podcasting.
After us.
After you.
I remember when like I was on Adam's radio show shortly before they killed it, and then he joined podcasting. And I remember being on his show and talking to him about podcasting. He's like, I think we do a podcast for this show afterwards. I think they put it up online. And then when he went off the air, like a few days later, he opened up the pod. He became a podcast. So I saw
you did it before anybody, and you were really.
I saw Mark Maron come in.
Yeah.
I saw
Rogan.
Rogan come in. I remember Rogan asking me, he's like, "Should I use Fleshlight as a sponsor?" And I was like, "Oh my god, I did." And like, we've apparently tapped out our audience. Everyone who wants to buy a Fleshlight listening to our podcast app. I was like, "But you got a whole different audience and shit." So he jumped onto the Fleshlight thing and stuff. Who else? He came in after us. Ernest came in after us.
Yeah.
Adam came in after us. The only people who were doing it before me and Moj were, Adam Curry created it and shit. Then there were other people as well. I shouldn't say we were the only people, but I remember the top 10 charts. And Leo Laporte doing This Week in Tech was the big show. Yeah. And then Bill Maher's podcast. I still got I took screenshots of the charts back in the day when we first started doing this because it was fun. So like Bill Maher's after real time, like they did like 5 minutes after the show and put it up online. Yeah. That was the number one podcast. The Happy Tree Friends was the number one podcast and stuff. But when we entered into it, me and Scott, it was 2007. So we've been doing 13 years and stuff. Yeah. And back then it was like, I just did it because I'm like, they'll let me do a radio show. Like I always dreamed of owning a radio station one day. I was like, that would be the end game for me. To just sit around, spin records, talk about whatever the fuck you wanted to talk about. That seemed like a cool life. And then podcasting afforded us that ability. So I was like, let's fucking do that. And so I leaned into it in a big, bad way. Now it's like crazy. Like,
but that's what I mean.
A new podcast with my kid, Vegan Abattoir.
Yep.
And re-entering with a new show, because I don't think we've created a new show in quite some time. Re-entering with a new show was a completely different education. When I used to drop a podcast, it would launch at number 1 and shit like that. And this was Harley was like, we're number 2 in home furnishings podcast or something like that. I'm like, well, that's very specific. But are we even in that category? So the game has completely changed. I mean, as we've seen, Joe Rogan turned it into a fucking $100 million thing. I remember that's the thing. We'd all sit around talking about podcasting going like, yeah, it's fun, but you don't really make money. Well, somebody figured out how to make a lot of money.
Well, but it shifted with the generation, man. Because I remember when everything was starting back then, it was like and I grew up a Stern guy. I mean, I still to this day think he's the best interviewer in the world.
He was why I wanted to do podcasts.
Yes.
I was like, to fucking talk like Howard Stern, just sit there and talk to your friends.
Just listen to the fucking guy. He listens back and he talks a lot of time when people are interviewing. They're like, oh yes, actually, and they're not even thinking about anything. They're thinking about their next question and not listening to what's happening. He was like the fucking king of that. And he was always very pun intended, stern against podcasting. He was because he's a traditional radio guy,
Was he?
Oh, dude, yeah.
I dropped out of Stern World back in 2000. What year was Red State? I guess 2009.
Oh, okay, 2009.
Because I remember it was so scary. I got on a plane to go to Berlin to do sales on Red State. We had a sales screening. Yeah. And right before the previous day, I had been on Joy Behar had a show, and she asked me a Howard Stern question. I was like, I haven't been on Howard in years. The last time I was on, he was kind of a bully to me and shit. And so, I didn't blast him hard, but I was just like, I just don't, I don't want to go someplace where I get fucking made fun of or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I got on a plane and went to Berlin. That morning, Howard, that's what he did for 3 hours, was talk about that and fucking roast me, and his entire audience went after my social media and stuff, but I wasn't in the country, so I didn't see it. So it was like a bad 20 hours. But I hadn't gone on his show since, what was it? It was around before Jersey Girl came out, because I was coming out with the Evening with Kevin Smith DVD, and I wanted to do a spot, to kind of fucking sell it. And he had called up like all the time. Like aside from the times that I got to go in and be on the show, he would call me up in the mornings at like 6:30. Be like, Kevin, what is the name of the Superman's house, Fortress of Solitude? Thank you, and fucking hang up. He would just ask me shit, like while he was in the middle of the show and stuff. So I reached out to Gary and I was like, hey man, can I come call in for this evening with Kevin Smith DVD? I'm in Los Angeles, so I can't come into the show, but like I told Columbia TriStar that like I'd call in and promote it. And Gary was like, I don't know, man, we're kind of busy right now and stuff. And I said, I'll sweeten the pot. We finished this movie Jersey Girls, got Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez in it. They literally talk about Howard and Robin in one scene. And so Gary's like, oh, all right, come on in, Yeah. So right before I got on, they come back from commercial and, Howard does the intro and Howard goes like, Kevin Smith, like, he's kind of a friend of the show, but like, he's always trying to get on and never once, I swear my hand on my child's life, other than this fucking DVD time, never once had I ever called to try to be on the show. Yeah. Like, I'd been brought in for movies and shit. He fell in love with Brian Johnson's movie Vulgar, so he started calling about that all the time. He was a big fan of Because I Got High, and it was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so like he would call about that as well. But I never once called the show to be like, can you put me on, please? Because that's beneath my dignity. I listened to that show forever. I didn't want to be like one of the fucking whack packers that were like, I'll do anything to get on the show. I'll light my farts on fire or whatever the fuck. I maintained a bit of dignity, I felt. So when he said that on the intro and then they bring you in live, he's going, hey, Kevin. I said, that's not true, dude. I've never once called up to try to be on the show, man. That really hurts my feelings. Don't lie like that. And he's like, well, and then Gary gets on. He goes, well, Kevin, you don't call, but sometimes you publicist calls. I said, I don't have a fucking publicist. I was like, don't say shit like that. Don't treat me like a whack packer.
Yeah.
And Howard goes, well, don't get upset about it. And I was like, well, it is upset, man. Like, you called me one week, 3 mornings in a row. Like, that's you calling me. I've never called it. So it really stuck in my craw. Yeah. And when I was done with that call in, I was like, you know what? Like, as much as I grew up listening to him and loved him and shit, that hurt my feelings. Like, I was like, that's untrue. Don't paint me like a whack packer. Like, you could tell I was a longtime fan because I was really incensed that he kind of put me in this category with like the Vinny Mazzio Juniors and stuff.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I never need to call in again. I don't need to be on that show. And every time they would be like, okay, you're promoting this. You're going here. We're sending you to Stern. I said, please don't even ask. I'm not going into Stern. Yeah. And so for years it had been that way. And then I was on like this Joy Behar thing and she brought it up. And, I wasn't like, fuck Howard, but I was just like, I don't go on that show. He's a bully to me. And then he got fucking mad. And he, I wrote him after that. I think I sent him an email because when I got back from Berlin, I'd heard from a bunch of people like Howard was fucking blasting you and shit. And so I sent him an email being like, hey, I'm sorry. If you were offended by me calling you a bully and stuff, but you know what this goes back to and blah, blah, blah. But I think you're great, respect you and always will and blah, blah, blah. So years later, when podcasting happened, that's why I linked up with it right away because I was like, oh, my God, you could be Stern. You could be your own Howard Stern. Just sit there and talk about whatever you want to talk about, And I'd heard people get interviewed for years, and most of the times it was boring. I agree with you. Howard always found a way into shit. And even if it was like puerile, where he'd be like, how many times did you have sex? At least it was a different interview than you were used to hearing any place else. So it laid the groundwork for me becoming a podcaster. The moment I was like, this is a thing, you could do this, anybody could record a podcast, fuck it, let's do it. That was my role model, man. Just be as frank and honest as he always was.
Mine too, man. Like on Collider, when I was doing Collider Live, or when I was doing I did my one-on-one series when I was with Collider, and I always approached it that particular way. It's just like you listen, and I think that's the other thing where I was kind of when I was going with that with you, what you had done so well, because you can tell you had that influence, because you could also tell that performance side of you, where you're doing the improv and you're going around on tour and you're working with like by the way, I can't even. We were blessed to have Mark Bernardin on the show for the 3 matches that he did too. That dude is the most fucking genuine, just funny dude. I'm gonna get
very real, very very low key funny. You never see it coming. All of a sudden,
so
like
fun.
hits you with something. You're like, that's actually fucking legit brilliant.
I love Mark Bernard, and I'm telling you, that stupid ass fucking Cool World question. Those aren't always the levels. Those are not the levels.
He made me scared. He was the first one that made me scared. He's
I saw your reaction. I was like, don't tell him that, Mark. But when I was watching, and he's great. And to watch your guys, the camaraderie that you've had with a lot of co-hosts over the year and people that you talk to, I think that's why you don't give yourself enough credit, because you inspire dudes like myself and people, in general, not just dudes, to do this, to show. But I also disagree where I don't think like anybody can do it, because it's the same reason like anybody can try to do it, but anybody can't keep you engaged. Anybody can't get up and because of the influence that they've had, not only in their movies, but to go up in front of Hall H each and every year, not just because, well, I got to do this. Dude, you take over. I've been in that Hall H many times when you're in there and you're talking to these people, they listen to you and you inspire them because you are that dude that's, I can sit down. We're supposed to talk for 20 minutes today and we're just bullshitting about everything which way but loose because you've got that thing where people want to hear you talk. So again, this isn't like, hey, Kevin Smith, you're so great, because it's because I want you, when you say things like, they're not hiring you, they're not doing that. There's so much other things that you've done.
Totally. And I never want that to sound like, somebody, or I don't want that to sound like a complaint to somebody if they're just like, oh my God, he's whining that they don't.
You're complaining at all. I don't think
you're complaining at all. But
I don't believe you're complaining.
But you're also not speaking the truth, because how are you going to not call yourself a visionary when the Christopher Nolans of the world cannot make a movie for $250,000? That's something that you can do. Right.
Well, so that's what I was going to say.
Different genius.
That's very sweet, but that doesn't take vision.
Vision, damn fucking right, it takes vision. Are you kidding?
It takes vision to make
to write a script, to be able to direct actors the way that you do. That takes vision.
That's why, I disagree with Kristian. I honestly feel like anybody can do this, and now. Not everyone captures like a wide audience, but anybody who sits down, records a podcast, shoots a vlog or whatever the fuck, you have that opportunity. You may not get everybody, you may not get 100 people, but someone out there is like, that's mine. You did that shit for me. I've met many people over the course of my career who are just like, that fucking thing you did, I felt like it was for me. And I'm like, well, it was for me, I'll be honest with you. But
with your vision. You did it with your vision.
It's not vision. I think it's more relatability. Yeah. I think people in Hall H, they'll sit there and listen to me because they recognize me.
Right. Yes.
Me, I just haven't done what he's done yet.
It's like Schnepp had that too. Schnepp had the same thing. Schnepp had that same thing where people, there was something about it. He represented everybody else. But RB3, you wanted to say?
Well, I was going to say, when you talk about your what your presence is now in the industry, Kevin, I think, for me personally, you have inspired a lot of people, a lot of generations, especially people like me. I'm 23, just graduated from school. And a lot of people look up to what you did back in 90s and with Clerks and kind of starting, a lot of people will credit you for starting, the independent movement back in that time. And that's something that inspires a lot of people in my generation to keep doing it. And, when you're giving advice, just keep doing it and do it till it's good enough. That's what a lot of people, want to hear, because that's the courage that we need. That's the confidence we need. So you definitely inspire people like me, and you inspire people who want to be filmmakers, who want to be podcasters and stuff like that. So I definitely think that's important to recognize as well.
And that means the world, honestly. This is going to sound disingenuous, but it's fucking true. The money in this business is nice, don't get me wrong, but I haven't been in the version of the business where they give you fucking heaps of money in a long fucking time. So I can hustle and make a living. I don't have to get a real job and stuff like that. And my people are taken care of, and I got employees taken care of and stuff. But they don't fucking push big piles of money at me and stuff like that. So that being said, I think I'm comfortable where I am because I saw someone do it long before me. One of my favorite people in this world, a person I considered a mentor and stuff, and a friend, was Stan Lee. Now, Stan Lee did his best work, a minute ago when he was a fucking kid. And Stan Lee stayed with us for decades, past the point where he was doing his optimum output. The thing that everyone knows him for was done a long time ago in a very short period of time. And then Stan just had to sit around for decades, right. And mercifully entertainment caught up and they can make movies that look like his books now and the characters that he co-created and stuff. But, you know, people weren't, every once in a while somebody would be like, hey, we're doing a Stan Lee Presents kind of thing. But unless Stan was doing fucking, you know, Spider-Man or Marvel, like, they didn't really have much use for him. He became chairman emeritus, so to speak, not just at Marvel, but in pop culture in general. So I watched a guy gracefully, mind you, accept where he was in the pantheon of things and understand he's like, I did my part and people still liked the work. And then the characters were handled by other people and stuff like that. And his generation never took it that seriously. It took Stan his entire life to realize. Like, I remember one time having a conversation with him, and he literally goes, he's going, the only thing I missed in life is I really wanted to write the Great American Novel. And I was like, Stan, you did better. You wrote the Great American fucking Mythology. Fuck a book. Yeah. You look at all this. They'll be talking about this shit years after we're all gone. These characters will live forever. So he got to a place where, you know, and I'm sure there was a transitional period where, you know, he wanted to do more than people were hiring him to do. But he was always cheerful about it, self-deprecating, never bitter, never like, hey, man, what happened to the love for me? If you're just around and shit, if you become like a piece of furniture in the entertainment business, you can't expect people to be constantly fucking excited about you and what you do. They've seen all my tricks, just like they'd seen all of Stan's tricks for a long time and stuff. And then one day something happened where they were like, hey, come be in this fucking movie, be in it again and shit. And Stan all of a sudden found this second life of appreciation from a bunch of people who'd sit there with their kids in a movie and be like, see that guy up there, the old man? That's Stan Lee. He created fucking Spider-Man and shit. You look for him. He's going to be in every movie and stuff. So he was fine with it. I never heard that man complain. You know, he was a hustler too. Stan was always working and always coming up with one scheme or another and like putting his name on this or that or whatnot. But he was never like, oh, you know, they don't fucking treat me like they used to and shit like that. You get a moment, man. It's like that song that's in League of Their Own. You know, we had a moment, just one moment. I'm gonna cry singing it. I love that movie. But like, you get a moment in time, and if you're lucky, you know, the moment passes and people still don't mind you being around. Some people do a thing. And then fucking a couple years later, everyone's like, why did we ever like this asshole? And then, you know, fucking they get chased out or dumped or whatever the fuck. So it's been nice to do a thing or a couple things that will fucking live on and shit. Like, you know, the day I realized Clerks wasn't going anywhere and it was an indie classic and shit, I was like, I'm safe. The day that we put our handprints and our footprints, me and Jay, at the Grauman's Chinese Theater, that was the first time in my fucking 26-year career where I felt safe for a moment, where I was like, nobody can take this shit away from me. We did this. Like, there are two fucking Jersey boys with their fucking feet in the ground right next to Harry Potter, right next to Quentin Tarantino, right next to R2-D2 and C-3PO. People could tell me I suck at my job. People could say I was never very good, but they cannot fucking deny that this all happened now. And I felt safe for one fucking moment. I was like, right on. Like, I could breathe. Like, we're here. We did it. We made an impact. You know, I always think of it as like that moment in Aliens when they're fucking, you know, the Marines go in there, we're going to fucking kill these bugs on a bug hunt. And then everything goes wrong. And then fucking they getting out of there and shit. And Ripley's driving the transport and shit. And she bursts through the wall and she's driving across the surface of the fucking planet shit. And Michael Biehn is like, you're grinding metal, Ripley. Ease up. You're grinding metal. Sometimes I feel like that in my career. Sometimes you just fucking go, and then you realize, ease up, man. You're just grinding metal. You're free. The aliens are way the fuck back there. You are safe. Yeah. Like, take your foot off the fucking gas. So Stan did that gracefully. Never once in 20 fucking plus years I know him did I ever hear him get bitter or shitty about not being considered what he was. Now, to be fair, he was probably more beloved at the end of his life than he was even when he created those comic books back in the day and stuff. So, you know, he also got lucky in that way, in as much as like he got a second big bite at the apple, and in fact more appreciation later in his life for the same things he did as a younger man. But having seen that, I was like, all right, that's what you do, man. You handle this shit classy. You can't be the new guy forever. I learned that a long time ago. You can't be the freshest flavor of the fucking month forever, because I just don't really have great new ideas. And when I do, it's shit like yoga hosers and stuff, or Tusk. So at the end of the day, you just kind of go like, all right, I have my time, and I'm gonna continue making movies because I like doing it and shit, but not because anyone's like, we need you. We need you. Save the box office. You know, that's for other people and shit like that.
Yeah.
But you just realize that, like, oh, you know what my role is now? To inspire, to be an example, to show people like I'm an idiot and I've had a 26-year film career. And so you can do things too. And you know, you pass on as much inside information and tips and shit like that, like so that people can make their run at it, you know, so people can maybe feel what you felt and they'll have their moment and shit like that. But like, you know, as long as they understand that if they're lucky enough to get that moment, that's what it is. And like everything I do, I'm always cognizant of the end, because, and not in a way where I'm defeatist, but I've just been around. I'm a pro, man. Like, and at this point, like, I know that you got to appreciate the moment it's happening because it stops and it never fucking comes again. We just did this dopey game show for 9 weeks on TBS called Celebrity Show Off. Not my idea. The title was originally My Little Television. They changed the title right before it aired, and I'm like, oh my God. I never would have said yes because I don't consider myself a celebrity. But I'm so glad I did it, man. It was fun. Made little shorts with my family here in the house. And while we were doing it, I kept telling the kids, I was like, appreciate this. Really have fun with it. Enjoy this shit that we get to roll out of bed and make a fucking sitcom in our house because it will end. And when it ends, it's never going to fucking happen again. So you appreciate things when they're going on and stuff like that. And you stay busy. I stay busy all the time. I don't think I've ever been accused of not fucking working. I mean, look, if you're ever wondering what I'm up to, go to comicbook.com. They constantly run stories, fucking things I've said and whatnot. So I feel
you have residency there on that front page. That's your
do.
page.
Oh, I love them to death, man. They're like my publicists. They're the best. So I do feel relevant, but I also know my place in the business. And I also know that, like, you know, my role now is to, even though I'm doing my shit and can still maintain the Kevin Smith business, my shit is to like launch the ships, to like tell people, do this. Like, here, I've been doing it for a quarter century. It's easy. Like, you know, the easy part, the hard part is finding somebody to buy it when you're done. But making a thing, self-expressing, like especially podcasting was wonderful because it eliminated that whole, boy, I hope somebody buys my movie kind of thing. Like I would tell people to make movies. I was like, you should make a film, man, like I did and stuff like that. It's easy. But the one thing you never told them was like, it's going to be expensive, you know, because that's just the reality of the business. Podcasting, I could literally tell people all the time, you should do this shit because it costs nothing but time. Nothing but time, no dimes whatsoever. So I try to encourage people, man, because I know one day I've said it a zillion times, but I've started as a spectator. You know, I was a consumer. I watch shit. I still do. I love it. I know I'll go back to that one day. You know, sooner or later, I'll run out of even my basic stupid ass Kevin Smith ideas and have no new stories to tell. And so when I push back from the table and say, so long and thanks for all the fish, I hope to Christ there's something worth watching. So, you know, at the very least, if I float a bunch of boats and tell people, hey, you can do this shit too. Go sing your song, self-express, tell your fucking story. Fuck their story. Your story is more important. That means that there's a good chance when I kick back to watch some shit, there's going to be some shit that I'm really going to like because it was influenced by me telling people you should do some shit. Well, so really, I'm just trying to like ensure that I have some shit to watch in the future. But I'll be honest with you, I love, one of my favorite things in the world is to be able to be like, I've been in this business. You probably heard me say it like 3 times. I've been in this business 26 years and shit like that. I love the longevity card, man, because people do treat you a little more seriously. Even if they think your output sucks, even if they're like, every movie you make is fucking pedestrian and fucking stupid, they got to respect the time, man. Yeah. The time that you've been on the field and shit like that, because there are filmmakers far better than me who you don't hear from anymore. They're not on the field. I don't know why. Look, one of my favorite directors in the world, Martha Coolidge, I interviewed her for Valley Girl for Lincoln Center. We did a series of podcasts called Smoothie Makers or Sminterview or Smoothiola. I think it was called Smoothiola. So the idea was like I interviewed people about fucking these classic movies, and they were playing at our Lincoln Center. So we did one for like Buckaroo Banzai, and we did one for Valley Girl. We're in New York. Martha Coolidge there, Deborah Foreman, Frederick Elms for theirs. And Martha Coolidge is telling a story about how like she don't get called, she can't get hired. And I'm like, what? What are you fucking talking about? You made Ramblin' Rose, man. Like, at least episodic TV must be calling. She's like, no. She goes, there comes a day where the phone just stops calling. I'll be honest with you, it was tough to get calls when I was thriving in my career, but eventually the calls stopped. And that fucking terrified me. That scared me because I was like, I could see this woman wants to ply her trade. She wants to practice her craft still. Yeah. And she wasn't being allowed to. And I told myself, I was like, look, this happens. This is going to happen. Someday, nobody's going to take your call. Don't mean you can't make something. It means you always got to be making something, Kev. Like, because just because they say you can't, don't mean you can't. They didn't say you could start either. They never gave you permission. Nobody ever came over to Jersey from Hollywood and said, we would like to hire you for a job and shit. You started this journey on your own. So you can keep this fucking journey going and shit. So I remembered after that interview, I was like, I will always direct if I want to. Like, and I know I could do that simply by if nobody else wants to finance. I was like, oh, I'll pay for it my fucking self. But I never want to be in that position where the choice is taken away from me, like Martha. If I ran a studio, she'd be fucking making shit. Because what better fucking person than somebody with a lot of experience, particularly somebody who took like a joke-ass script like Valley Girl, turned it into one of the most moving movies I've ever made. That still stays with me to this day, not as an entertainment, but as a fundamental building block of who I became instead. Yeah. So those filmmakers that built the movies that built us into the adults that we became, they should be fucking shooting. They should be working, man. Like, you know, but like anything in this society, the older you get, most people are like, So I just don't want to be that. Like, I get enough from people who are just like, I don't like your shit. Fuck Kevin Smith. I really don't need that from people who are peers or people who would finance things or whatever the fuck. Like, so since it's gonna happen and I can't stop that because I'm not in control of it, right. I at least got to be able to make sure that I can always make a thing over here without them. And then I can keep going and shit. But one day when I'm like, all right, I'm done, I will fully, I relish it now. I enjoy being an elder statesman. Like, I didn't enjoy being a senior in high school or anything like that. But I enjoy being an elder statesman in entertainment. Like I don't know. I get off on it.
Yeah.
For sure. When as far as the inspiring thing goes, and as far as like wanting to encourage people, and just to clarify what I was saying before, anybody I agree can pick up a microphone, have their thoughts, have someone listen to them, because if they are, then that means it's inspiring or talking to someone. And I agree with that. What I'm talking about is the wherewithal to keep at it, the wherewithal to stay there, stay in the pocket, keep, and figure out, this is what I want to do. Even if you're talking to three people, there is a specific set that not everyone can do. My dad always told me when I was younger, he said, listen, most people are going to doubt you. Most people are going to say, you can't do this, you can't do that. And that's not against them. It's just the way the human brain is developed.
Most people, because that's the world. Most people are used to seeing the world on a daily basis not work like that. Right. Dreams don't come true in front of your face for a lot of people. They happen once in a while. Sooner or later, everybody has a dream come true. And that's why they're so fucking special, because it's like, this never happens. Right. So it's easily understood when, people are hit in the face or punched in the gut with this like severe self-doubt where they're like, oh, the hill is too big. I'll never make it up there and shit like that. If you're doing it to get up a hill, perhaps that's not the right reason. Do a thing because you do it anyway, even if nobody was fucking looking.
Yes. And so
like, even if you don't have 1,000 people, 10,000 people listen to your podcast, you got fucking 3. You don't give a fuck. Like, that's how I fundamentally operate as a filmmaker now. That's the only way you can get away with fucking doing something like Yoga Hosers, which a lot of people are like, you trying to kill your career and shit?
But
Go ahead.
I was just going to get back to where we kind of started with this whole conversation. Is that's why I wanted to tell you, like, because if you don't do exactly what you're saying, if you don't stay in the pocket, it is like, were you a sports guy growing up at all? Like, no.
I like hockey, but that came later in life.
But that's so this is what, so my dad was a big Yankees fan and so sports was always a thing that was around me. But when I got involved in the movie space and especially in the Star Wars fandom, sports isn't a big thing. It's just not. Like, most people are not sports fans who watch this. Maybe some people are the wrestling fans. Maybe some people are MMA fans and boxing fans, baseball fans. I don't know. But like most people from what I've seen. What I have seen with the Schmodown, when we had the idea to do the Schmodown, it was a segment on our podcast. In 2014, it was like, let's do a last half an hour. We'll do like a little game show. And because I worked at the WWE, I was a writer there for a little bit. I wanted to, when I went to Collider, was to join it up and then tell stories of like, okay, what if, like, again, bringing up Schnepp. Schnepp played a heightened version of himself, and he's the good guy here, and then the bad guy comes in and does this. But we do legitimate trivia in between. And everyone said to me, "You're fucking nuts. No one's going to watch that. No one's going to care." And the same thing when I was doing stand-up comedy. It was like, you do something else. You don't do that. And what you said before, when you got your hands and feet on the with you and Jay, to me, that was getting my name on the Comedy Store wall. Like, no one can take that away from me, and I have that. So when you have that image in your head, whatever that fucking image is, you tell yourself at that point, when you tell me I can't, I know I can. I might not do it in the way that you think I can, or even the way I think I can, but I'm still going to try to do it. So when we did the Schmodown itself and trying to put these things together, these characters, I wanted to create a sport that maybe people like yourself were like, hey, so I watched like
play.
You watch it, but the thing is, a movie sport. If esports became a thing, if the fucking spelling bee is considered a sport, then competitive movie trivia, can become a sport.
Agreed.
And, you know what I mean? And to get people, and we did what you did. And you're talking about inspiring. We did what you did. I said, well, Kevin Smith's up there he's at the Improv and he's just doing a podcast, but he's getting people cheering and yelling and laughing. Like, what if we take it right? We sold out 1,000 people in Chicago, and fucking Roxy slapped a dude in the face in the middle of it, like a wrestling moment. It was a wrestling moment. It was
as a performance.
It was performance.
Who knows?
Who knows? But it was her character.
Where was it? Where'd you guys do? It was Chicago, you said?
Yeah, Chicago. It was the I forget, the Antebellum. It was right near. It was Star Wars Celebration. So what we wanted to do was, we had our big teams match, which Roxy was the manager of one of them, and then it was a number one contender shot. The winner would get title shots, and it was this big epic matchup. The main event was this dude. Star Wars Explained, Alex Damon, and he's the longest reigning champion that we've had, and he defended his title against Joseph Scrimshaw. And Kevin, this place screaming and yelling and cheering, and every time we go to an event, New York, we've done Houston. A dude got hit with a chair in Houston, and we did this whole thing. But I'm watching people scream and yell as the music pops in and the characters come down and they're screaming and they're yelling, and I'm going, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's
also, did you ever think like you'd put 1,000 people in a fucking room?
No, not for trivia.
You know what it takes. Think about it right now. Like we just put up on sale this morning tickets to go see me and Ralph do Hollywood Babylon, our 10th anniversary at the Vineland Drive-In. Do you know how much it takes to get and you do, how much it takes to get anybody to like press a button to purchase that ticket?
Every time.
Get 1,000 of those fucking motherfuckers who were like, yes, I want to be there for that. Suddenly at that moment, you realize like, I'm a paid live performer.
Yeah.
Like what I do, I can now do in front of people, and they'll pay money to get into the room to see that. That's got to feel amazing. That's rarefied breathing in this life, to be able to like put that many people in a room for a thing that you're in charge of, for a thing that you're like, I think this would be a good fucking idea. And not only to have people in a room just sitting there staring dead-eyed, to be excited, to be
screaming, yelling. Dude, eventually when we go back to this thing, I would die to have you just in the crowd, because
in
like
a heartbeat. Oh my God, I'll be there in a heartbeat. I love live events.
It feels like a UFC fight, like when you're there, because you have, like you mentioned, Dan Murrell. Dan Murrell he's the 4-time reigning champion, and
he's good. I didn't fight Dan on a Schmodown, but of course
movie
I
fights.
Fights.
Yeah.
Movie fights, which is more of a, like what I liked about movie fights was it didn't require encyclopedic knowledge of film. You just had to be a film lawyer, because sometimes you're like advocating for shit, like they 3 movies and you're left with the worst one and you have to sell it and shit like that. So it was fun because it appealed to the part of me that was always like, I wonder if I would have been a decent lawyer. Like, because I could, I remember beating Dan, but not in knowledge, more in argument than anything else, winning an argument. But Dan, because I've watched videos, Dan, in terms of trivial knowledge,
it's insane.
It's nuts, and it's fucking
insane.
frightening. That's why, like, I'm glad that I'm not fighting Dan.
Well, but
Do you know that I'm Jericho's manager? Do you know that
Are you
we're
really?
about to go up against each other? Yeah. I hope we kick the crap out of you, but I really appreciate and respect you otherwise.
I mean, look, I'm sure you're a great manager, but like, boy, you got the talent, man. You got. Not only is that dude muscly, he's mind muscly, and he remembers the weirdest, stupidest shit about
the
movies.
weirdest things. That's the thing. Like the deeper the cuts, honestly, the better he'll do.
Yeah,
It's the surface level stuff that
I wonder
the deep ones.
Yeah, because like I said, we bring up Dan Moreau for the last thing. Where and when we were in New York, in Brooklyn, he had just won his third title, and the crowd broke out. There was like 600 people in the crowd, and they broke out in unison. You deserve it. You deserve it. They kept saying like this whole thing, and he's holding up the belt. And Jen Sturger's got there. She's interviewing them,
rocks,
and
man.
just so and we're getting all these new competitors that are coming in from. They created fan leagues in the Schmodown, and people are like starting. It's like they're cutting their teeth. We've gotten some really good people, and I'm sure you know this now that there is a Kevin Smith category in the wheel slices that you can use. One of our
how embarrassing if I hit that. And missed the question.
Right, I know that would be, well. Did you see? So I know that Coy had sent you a video. So one of our competitors in Switchblade, Rachel Silvestrini, I've
seen her on Twitter. She's tweeted a few times.
Yeah, did you see her? Did you see? As Coy said, he had sent you her match where the category where she spun your category.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, I thought you had seen it. Okay, so yeah, she had hit your category. She hits it twice, and dude, she is a Kevin Smith like efficient
savant. Yeah,
she's won 2 matches over it. So
it's so weird, man. Like I wonder, like if I'm Kevin Smith and if I'm a category, can I like historically change the answer? Be like, no. It maybe you think
this is canon now.
You were behind the scenes. You don't know. That's originally what happened.
Exactly.
You win every challenge. That.
Yeah. If Kevin Smith challenges a Kevin Smith question, how do we not give him the answer? He's like, wait, as a challenge. Actually, what happened was, oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So anyway,
the only way I'm going to win, kids. The only way.
Well, dude, I cannot thank you enough for being here today. I mean, honestly, I could talk to you for everything, but this is
a blast, man. When we get rid of this fucking disease, we could all do this in person, man.
I would love to. And the match is Chris Jericho versus Kevin Smith on the undercard. Ben Bateman versus Andrew Guy. It is the second match. As I mentioned before, last time they competed, Guy got smashed with a chair. I doubt that's going to happen digitally. But in the main event, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Smith. It goes down on the 28th. So, guys, make sure that you all
sounded so hot when you were like Jericho and Smith going down. I'm like, I'll watch that.
That's what I was thinking
That's
too.
how I could beat him. I know I could be a better lover to him than he could be to me.
1,000 tickets sold out easy for that. Easy.
That's it. And Kevin, are you doing any more? Like, I know you did something big for your 50th. Are you doing any like drive-in shows or anything too right now, or not yet?
On Monday at the Vineland out here, we're doing Hollywood Babylon 10th anniversary show at the drive-in. So me and Ralph projected on the screen and stuff. And then we just announced yesterday that out here we had the movies pop-up was going for it was supposed to be a month and it wound up going for 2 months. Did really well. Now it's moving, it's closing here, and it's moving to New Jersey. So when I go back for that, that's like mid-September. I think I'm going to do a drive-in show there. But the one that people get tickets for right now is Hollywood Babylon at csmod.com.
All right, make sure you do that, guys. And obviously, if you're not already following Kevin Smith on Twitter, that Kevin Smith, make sure you do that ASAP. All right, dude, I cannot wait to get this match underway and to get you back in.
What should I wear for the Schmodown?
You got to talk to Coy, man. So the merch,
a Jericho shirt.
Yeah, I wonder if I have.
I have one. I have a fucking Le Champion bit of the bubbly shirt.
Oh, do you really? That's great.
I don't know if that would. Maybe I should wear it to mind fuck him.
Yeah, I don't know. Intimidation.
He would see that as a plus, though. He'd be like, "You're wearing my shirt."
Kevin, let me ask you that before we let you go. Do you have a little Schmodown smack talk to Jericho here, or not smack talk in general? Anything that you want to say to your competitor coming up here on the Schmodown match with Mr. Jericho?
Let me tell you something, Jericho. I know you're used to a lot of salty talk and threatening people and stuff like that. I don't play games like that. I'm going to have a hard time beating you, not because of your encyclopedic knowledge of film, but you're Canadian. And I can't beat a Canadian. I would never. There's too kind. It's like beating a platypus. What kind of asshole am I? So I'm probably going to lay down just because you're Canadian, which is something I'm sure he's used to hearing quite a bit.
Guys, remember, it is the match, and it is the man, Kevin Smith. Thank you, guys.
Friday? What time are we going?
So we haven't. I have all the details. I'll make sure that I email Julian about it to get you. You'll have everything, all the details. And Roxy Striar will be managing Jericho. Corey Andrew will be managing Kevin Smith for the Quirky Mercs. It is going to be a battle for sure. And we were really happy to have you here today, Kevin. Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolute blessing. Anytime you guys need somebody, just let me know. I'm always sitting around doing nothing.
Tomorrow, see you here.
See you tomorrow.
I'm done. I'll become a member of the show.
Kevin Smith, ladies and gentlemen. How fucking cool was that? Dude, he's the best. He's the best.
This has been my face for literally 3 hours.
He said 20 minutes he was going to be on the show. and we got him for a while. So, I mean, he's fucking cool.
Kevin Good Enough Smith, the visionary. Come on. You
know that I'm absolutely going to call him that on for his match. He's going to be good.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I mean, has he not inspired every single one of us to, live our dreams today? That was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anything that I was bitching about earlier today, I don't care. I don't care. That was fucking awesome. How
great.
Fucking great is he?
He inspired me from when Mattel calls me, I'm going to say, no, you come to me. I'm not going to. That's what he inspired me to do.
That was my favorite because he's so fucking laid back and you can tell he's a stoner. And he's just like, oh, yeah, Mattel, fuck yeah. He's like, where is it? No. It's totally. No,
I'm not driving there. I'm going to tell them next time I get a sit and sleep commercial audition. No, you come to me.
Yeah, he was great. He was absolutely great. You can do that for sure, Brett. That's a great thing. And I hope you guys you enjoyed the interview. We enjoyed it, and we'll definitely have Kevin back whenever the fuck he wants to come back, honestly. And thank you guys. Make sure you check that out. Backstage, we're going to still try to get up. We're a little behind here, obviously, so we're going to try to get Backstage up if you didn't have a chance. And if you've never checked out the Schmodown before, please go and check it out. We have the entire season 7 playlist that's up right now. If you're able to do that, do that. If you're listening on podcast, make sure you leave us a rate and review. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We'd love to have you on the YouTube channel as a subscriber. We do this show here every day, 10 to 12 o'clock, and we will be back tomorrow for sure. But I have to thank everybody who joined us today. Thank you to Roxy Striar. Thank you to Brett Sheridan, Ben Goddard, RB3, to all of you guys. It was an absolute pleasure and a lot of fun. Really, thanks again to Kevin Smith. And I hope you all had a great time. And we're going to see you tomorrow. Woo-hoo.